I got to play with his bongos, said Bankhead. I mean, how does a chicken show affection towards its owner? Japanese tits.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and time to say a very, very warm welcome to Mr. Mike and Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Mike, as well. You say a very good morning, and of course, people are making such a lot about the England result at Wembley. It's a friendly. Unfortunately, it's against...
so was the game against Germany.
Well, this is it, you see. Now, this is it. Now, this is the point I'm going to make. Now, you know who Rudyard Kipling is, don't you?
I certainly do,
right, yeah. Now,
I've been to his house.
Hey?
I've been to his house.
Been to his house? Well, he lived in India, didn't he?
Well, no, he had a house in England as well.
Oh, did he? Where was his house in India?
His house is in Sussex.
Sussex?
Yeah, I've told you about this before. I took my kids there.
Oh, what did you go there for?
Because it's like it's part of the National Trust.
Well, they wouldn't know who Rudyard Kipling is.
Well, of course they do.
Don't be ridiculous. The children are
far
too
very
young.
well educated.
Yeah, I'm sure they're well educated. They're far too young
very well read as well.
to appreciate Rudyard Kipling.
Right, why are you saying Rudyard? Rudyard, anyway.
Yeah, Rudyard. Okay, Rudyard. Right, now, Rudyard, whereabouts in Sussex, by the way?
It's not far from where I live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, near Battle?
Not far from there.
No, he's decided to settle near the site of a historic battle, did he? Because he was a great poet.
Slightly closer to Lewis. It's a beautiful house, actually.
Lewis,
lovely grounds.
Yeah, really? Who lives there now?
It's a stately home. It's run by the National Trust.
Really?
Yeah.
And nobody lives there?
No.
Well, all the homeless in this country, and we can't live in Rudyard Kipling's house because he thinks he's so special.
It's worse than
that.
When
he died, he had to keep his house empty.
It's worse than that.
It's a bit like Edward Heath.
You know
his house is empty.
how keen he was on children. When my kids went there,
yes,
they were told not to jump on the furniture.
Oh yeah, I should imagine so as well, in case you wreck it or something. Yeah, mind you, if your children are growing up in the sort of obese fashion that you've developed into, I can imagine why you would want your children
my children
jumping on
certainly
furniture.
Very far from obese.
Now,
so thanks for insulting them nonetheless.
So anyway,
there's really no part of my family that you won't insult.
I also
it's a shocking state of affairs.
No.
You insulted my mother last night.
No.
Insulted my children
Excuse
tonight.
me, I think
I constantly insult my father.
Excuse me?
You're always insulting members of my family.
Did I not put out a tweet this evening saying your mum looks great, happy birthday?
You did, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you insulted her last night on the show.
I didn't insult her on the show last night.
Said that it was pathetic that I would use her
I think
as
a
winner, even though she's a wonderful woman of 92. And who's had a lovely birthday. She's still having a birthday, actually, because it's 6 hours behind in America.
Trying to get the sympathetic and slushy sentimental vote. And I put out another tweet saying, I suppose next week you'll invoke your dog, will you? Oh, my dog's not well. He's a winner. And try and get the...
if my dog was the equivalent of 92 vote, and it was his birthday, I might well do so.
Yeah, you've no shame.
Extraordinary circumstance.
Anyway, getting back to...
Would you like to know the result of winners and losers?
No, I don't really. Don't really want to know.
Okay, all right.
But you can tell me anyway, go on, yeah.
I can tell you 1,455 votes were cast. The result was a 55% to 45% margin of victory, which is very large.
No, it's not.
In my favour.
No, it's not.
So that makes it 8.5 to 4.5.
No, it's not, you see.
8.5 to 4.5 is now the score.
Only a 5% swing, and it would have been even
5% in politics is massive.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Absolutely
no,
huge.
I don't agree. You don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, considering that you invoked your 92-year-old mother to try and get the tear-wringing,
most people, apart from the moronic Porky tribe types, all thought it was a lovely thing to do.
Really?
Most people saw that it was an outpouring of love and affection,
yes,
as opposed to what your cynical kind of little mind would come up with.
Oh, yeah, I saw it as the work of a chancer who knew he was on a loser. After you heard my winners and losers, they were so good, you suddenly decided, I better play
Your winners
dirty
and losers
here.
haven't been good for about a year.
No, that's not true. Now then, getting back to old Rudyard
Kipling.
Now, he wrote a poem called If. Now, there's a line in that poem which says something like, treat victory and defeat as imposters.
As imposters both.
As imposters both, and look them in the face in that way. Now, I think Mr. Hodgson, the England manager...
how does that tally with your, if you're not winning, you're not trying hard enough?
Well, that's my philosophy, but I'm talking about Mr. Hodgson. Now, Mr. Hodgson was
Is that in your poem called When?
What?
What?
Have you gone mad?
Well, you've just been quoting a poem called If.
Yes, that's right.
Why don't you write one called When?
Well, why don't you just shut up and listen to what I'm trying to say, Why don't you write a poem called Juicehead about yourself?
All right.
Now then, Now, if Roy Hodgson claims to be a very learned man.
He does.
You know, apparently he reads books in
Sanskrit or something, right?
No, German and Swedish and all this kind of stuff.
Does he ever read any books about football?
Well,
maybe he ought to.
That's a very nasty question, because you're trying to insinuate that you think he's a hopeless coach.
Well, he is a hopeless coach.
Well, that's a bit harsh. But anyway, the point I'm making
the man who yesterday said he should be fired. He should have been fired after the World Cup.
Oh, definitely.
Well, so you think he's not a hopeless coach then?
I don't kick a man when he's down. I think he should have been removed from the England job.
How is he down? He's getting
Cup.
paid about £4 million a year.
He's the highest paid coach in Europe.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But anyway, the point of the story is...
Yeah, what is that?
Is that, I do think he should have been sacked after Brazil. So anyway, after the game in Germany on Saturday, Mr. Hodgson's hitting the roof and, brilliant result, very, very pleased and all this kind of stuff, and, great to give the country something to smile about, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So today, after losing 2-1 at home to the Netherlands, a team which
a
team which instantly haven't qualified for the European Championships. That's how good they are.
That's right.
We got beaten at home 2-1. He starts mumbling on then about what a pity we couldn't give the country great response. So he's trying to make out that what's happened is that we haven't given the country the big lift the game against Germany. Real pity.
Well, to be fair to him, when he was asked if England could win the Euros, he said, well, it's a sort of a trick question. If I say yes, then people will say I'm overconfident. If I say no, people will say I'm not confident enough. So he just kind of hedged his bets.
No, but the point I'm making is, if you would just listen...
Well, how much longer is it going to take?
Well, I've just told you. Rudyard Kipling wrote a poem called If, in which there was a line about facing victory and defeat and treating both of them as imposters with contempt.
Right.
Well, he should have done that on Saturday night. He should have said, look, it's a friendly. It's against the world champions of 2 years ago, and nothing like the team they were then. They don't ever play very well in friendlies. They don't take him seriously.
But then he'd get accused of being sort of, mealy-mouthed and not really, having enough confidence in his own players.
But immediately he jumped on it and said it was, it was a brilliant result and insinuated that, he'd become a genius overnight.
Well, do you know what I suspect about Roy Hodgson?
What?
I think he's quite a vain man, right?
Yeah.
I can take that from the way that he wears his
hair.
From the way that he wears his watch is a work of a vain man.
Yeah.
And I think he was secretly trying to sort of subliminally tell everyone this is all down to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure he was. So the point I'm making is, so tonight after the game, he starts whinging about, didn't give the lift to the country and all this kind of stuff. And so what I'm saying is this: if you wanted the country to feel a huge lift and go out on a high at the end of all the friendly games you're allowed to play until you've got to pick your squad, because there are 3 more friendlies, but they will consist of the squad that he's already picked.
They're very close as well, and there's only certain teams you can play so close to the tournament, right?
Exactly. The point I'm making is, then he should have had the courage of his convictions. Tonight he should have played the same team he played against Germany. Friendlies have 2 functions.
But wasn't he trying something else, though?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Friendlies have 2 functions. One is to try out new players to see if they work.
Yeah.
But secondly, they can also be used to try and introduce some sort of consistency and regulatory feeling about the team you're going to field in the championship.
Well, tonight obviously wasn't that particular
choice. Well, of course
it
wasn't. So he made a mistake.
Yeah.
He got it completely wrong.
Well, you might
so
say
it's no good moaning afterwards.
But he got it wrong against Germany as well.
Yeah, well, you say
in the first half. No, he did.
Yeah,
in the first half.
He did. I agree. I said immediately afterwards, I said on Titans, I think on Sunday, we won that game despite Roy Hodgson, not because of him.
Yeah.
And that's because England club managers have produced such great young players. Pochettino at Spurs, the Leicester contingent have come from nowhere. They've dropped into his lap. Claudio Ranieri.
I always said he'd be a great manager.
Have dropped into his lap, and he suddenly, Stalin talked about lucky generals. No, he didn't. That was the Duke of Westminster, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was
the Duke of Wellington.
Duke of Wellington. He talked about lucky generals.
I don't think the Duke of Westminster's got any generals.
No, the Duke of Westminster is the chairman of the board of governors at my former school.
That's what I mean. What does he need generals for?
Well, all right. So it's the Duke of Wellington.
Yeah.
Talking about
Third time lucky.
Lucky generals.
Third time lucky.
And what I'm saying is, the point I'm making here is that, it's no good Mr. Hodgson's mumbling and bumbling about, well, you didn't retain possession like we should, didn't have as much of the ball as we should.
Yeah.
You fielded the wrong team tonight. If you wanted us to finish on a high at the end of the friendlies, which, against decent teams like Holland and Germany, well, you screwed it up by picking the wrong team. It's quite as simple as that.
So you're quite grumpy about it, really, aren't you?
No, I'm not grumpy about it.
We mentioned Phil Jagielka's error and John Stones' rather patchy performance, but we'll get to that coming up next.
I don't think that's worth talking about.
I think it is. This is Talk Sport. There was some kind of dubbing going on there by our men behind the glass.
What do you mean?
Well, like one song merging into another.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing that for?
I don't know. I think it was a mistake.
Right, okay.
Anyway, never mind that. Let me read you some tweets that we've got here.
Okay, that'd be good.
Mark from Bristol wants to know why Porky's making Roy Hodgson sound like Roy Hattersley.
Yeah, well,
there is some similarity, actually.
Well, there is.
He wasn't much use either.
No, he wasn't much good.
James says this. Wow, I can't believe Porky just attacked MG's children. Last night it was MG's mum.
No, I didn't.
And he's always attacking MG's dad.
I did not.
Absolutely extraordinary.
I did not. That was another thing about Roy tonight. He just made a point of moaning about, well, we should have this penalty, and that shouldn't have been a foul, and that was a foul, and all that. I mean, just get on with it, for goodness sake. Do you think we're interested?
Yeah.
We lost a friendly at home at Wembley. It's embarrassing. We wish we hadn't, but you have to move on. Shouldn't have made such a scene about beating Germany in Germany. Clearly a deficient German team who didn't really care too much about the game.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine Germany enjoyed losing to England, no matter what the situation
I'm sure
was,
they
particularly
didn't.
in Berlin.
I'm sure they didn't.
Western says, Porky says he won't kick a man while he's down, and then immediately slags Roy off. Hashtag hypocrite.
Well, he's not exactly down, is he? As you quite rightly say, he earns about £3.5 million quid a year, and is the luckiest man alive, in my opinion, to be in a job, particularly a job paid that much after what you could only describe as a very poor performance when put to the test.
Yes.
In his last big exercise, which was the World Cup in Brazil. It doesn't make sense.
And a massive crowd at Wembley as well.
Yeah, exactly.
After what happened on Saturday night, you'd think he'd want to kind of capitalise on that.
That's right.
Duncan adds in to the shame. Can Porky sink any lower? Insulting MG's kids. Shame on you, you plank.
No, I didn't insult your children. I said that I hope that they, don't follow your lifestyle pattern of, I would say virtual obesity.
Really? Virtual obesity?
You've assured me...
What size are you?
You're X.
How much do you weigh?
That's irrelevant.
Why is it irrelevant?
It's utterly irrelevant.
You're always poking fingers at me for being supposedly obese, but you won't take part in a weighing contest. You won't tell me what shirt size you have.
You assured me your children are not obese or anything like it, and I perfectly accept that, and that your children are very well brought up.
It's none of your business for a start.
So to be accused...
It's none of your business. I mean, one of them might have...
accused of attacking your children...
One of them might have some kind of glandular problem, and one of them might be very self-conscious about it, and you've now raised the issue in a way which is quite despicable.
Have they got a glandular problem?
No, they haven't, as it happens.
Exactly. Well, I knew that.
No, but you're fortunate that you haven't caused a massive problem.
Once again, you're trying to get the sympathy for, my kids could have had a glandular problem.
Well, they could have.
Oh, have they got a glandular problem? No, they haven't. No, you just thought you'd try and get a bit more sympathy out of the, the gullible amongst our listeners. Most of our listeners are good, sensible, honest people.
Yeah.
Few of them decided to fall.
That's why they voted for me.
For your ridiculous trick of nominating your mother as a winner
It's not a trick.
Pathetic.
I love my mother, and I thought it was a nice thing to celebrate.
And I think your mother's a very nice lady. I've met her many times. But to invoke her into, a competition which is about sort of, real people, current affairs, world events, sporting occasions, it's just pathetic.
I don't know why you're getting so upset about it.
I'm not getting
Roy
upset.
says this, so how did the 80 million quid centre-half shape up? Those Everton stars really are out of their depth.
I'm not going to respond to that because,
why not?
We all know what happened.
It's not like your own personal fault.
If you watch the game, you knew what happened.
Every report from the game says that your man John Stones had a pretty mixed performance, a pretty bad game.
I thought Barkley had a great game, don't you?
No, he was all right.
He did a great game.
He was all right,
and I think he'll be in the starting 11 when England go to the competition.
I think he probably should be,
and play their first game.
I think he probably should be. I don't think any of the England players had a great game. To be honest,
Vardy was very good.
He was all right, but he wasn't getting the kind of ball as they were saying at half time on ITV.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't getting the kind of ball that he could capitalise on.
Totally agree.
What do you think of Wayne Rooney's performance in the box?
It's sort of okay, but when you're England captain, you're not going to be in a position to criticise anybody anyway, are you?
Have you seen that story on the back page today where his son apparently has asked him for an England kit with Jamie Vardy's name on it?
Nothing wrong with that.
I think it's great.
That's what kids do.
I think it's great that he's admitted it.
Kids look at TV and they say, "Who's the hero, Daddy? Can I have one of his shirts?"
But if that's not enough of a sign that it's time for you to move on and out, that's it.
No, not at all. His kids are probably quite unaware of what, how Wayne Rooney's life has panned out. They're probably quite unaware of the fact that their father's the all-time England record scorer at their age. They wouldn't know that. He's got 3 little boys now, hasn't he?
He has indeed.
Certainly the youngest wouldn't know. Maybe the middle one might know.
Matty says this: what would Porky say if Everton were 2 down to Barcelona and came back to win 3-2 in a friendly? He'd be over the moon.
I would, but a friendly's a friendly, and it has no significance. And unless it got us through to the quarter-final or the semi-finals of the Champions League, it's not really very relevant, is it?
Really?
No, it's not.
No. There's one from Barry. He says, tell Porky that Roy needed to find out how Milner could perform on the big stage. I think we know the answer to that.
Yeah, we know the answer to that one. But you've got to remember that Milner being captain brought extra responsibility to his role, and he said he was very proud about it. And of course you should be proud about it to lead your country, but it was a completely sort of false position of leadership because there was nobody else in the team anywhere near qualified to wear the armband. So, he got it by default, really. I'm not knocking him, but I mean, and I like Milner. I think his attitude to the game as well.
You like Milner?
Yeah, he's never had a drop of alcohol. How about that?
Well, he is Boring James Milner, isn't there? There's a Twitter account that's called Boring James Milner. And actually there's a clip on it where they've got him on some TV show actually reading tweets from the Boring James Milner account. Right. He actually manages to read them even more boringly than the Boring James Milner account.
Are you accusing him of being boring because he's a teetotaler?
Well, I would imagine it's quite boring, yeah.
You see, that's typical of you.
Why?
Why can't you just praise the man, and why can't you just respect the man for the fact that he doesn't need
There's only 2 kinds of people that I've known in my life who are teetotalers,
He doesn't need the devil's buttermilk
There's only 2 kinds of people.
Life.
There's only 2 kinds of people, and I'm not suggesting for a minute that he's one of these 2 kinds.
Right, go on.
But the first kind is the alcoholic, the one who says, look, I literally can't drink because if I do drink, I'll fall into an early grave because I can't control it.
Yes.
And the second is a sex addict. Sex addicts don't drink very much because it affects their performance.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you know about that, do you?
Well, of course.
How do you know about that? I didn't know
about that. How do I know about it? Well, if you're drunk all the time, it's not that easy to have sex.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you not know that?
Well,
I realise it's been a long time, but I thought that you probably would have had that kind of idea in your head.
No, but you've clearly researched this yourself personally, haven't you?
Well, I haven't researched it.
But
my knowledge,
you know about it.
My knowledge of drinking and sex is probably quite expert, I would say.
Well, your knowledge of
what's wrong with that?
Your knowledge of getting bladderated is very, very extensive,
and getting laid as well.
And your knowledge of chasing around, pestering women for a physical relationship is also very well known.
I've never pestered a woman.
Very
in my life.
well known.
No, it's never happened.
Very well known. I mean, I'm not going to go into the depths of depravity which you've explored during your adult life.
You have no idea.
Well, I think I do.
No, I think I do.
But this is a family show, and I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah, it is a family show. All I'm saying to you is that I generally don't trust people that don't drink.
Do you know one thing I really disliked about the England team last night?
I think you're quite upset about it. You're masking it well.
The new strip. I couldn't stand that new strip.
They were making a big thing. They were making a big thing about it.
Terrible.
As the new home kit, weren't they?
It was horrible
before the game because they said it was better than the away kit.
Where did we ever get light blue from in the England
in the flag?
Colours? Yeah, in the flag. The
well,
colours
the England
or anything
flag
else.
hasn't got any kind of blue in it.
The
England flag's got no kind of blue in it.
No, it hasn't. But the Union Jack has, and the Union Jack is a flag for all our nations.
They're not playing for Great Britain.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing is what I don't understand is the red and blue. The red.
The red
strip that we played against Germany, but blue socks. I mean, it's just mad.
Yeah.
I disliked it intensely.
Scotland did well. They won last night again. That's 2 wins.
That's 2 wins for Wee Strachey.
It's preparations for Russia 2018.
Well, exactly.
That's what it's for.
Well, of course it is, because he's not going to the Euros, is he? And it was another 1-0 performance, wasn't it? Wee Strachey doing well.
But 2 wins in 2 is better than 1 win in 2, isn't it?
No, I totally agree. I'm not knocking it.
Can't be bad. Graham in Bath says, Porky's spot on about England. It was obvious before the game that Hodgson had made too many changes to work.
Exactly.
David in Essex says, Mike, who's Rudyard Kipling? Does Porky think he's a bloke that makes exceedingly good cakes?
Well, he might be a mate of Ruud van Hulit. I quite like that, don't you?
Yeah, I quite like that as well. Yeah, hey, did you see that story about the RSPCA today, by the way? You were banging on about saving bunnies yesterday.
Yes.
Which I presume is another one of your, easy come, easy go campaigns that you've completely and utterly forgotten about.
I've been working on that today.
Nobody, by the way, has been out there spotting any kind of, saber-toothed rabbits or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there's been a huge scandal about the amount of money which is being siphoned out of the RSPCA.
That's right.
By the guy who's the chief executive.
That's right.
And you said yesterday that the RSPCA were behind this campaign of yours.
Behind which campaign?
Well, it's a campaign to save rabbits.
Yeah, of course they are, yeah. But the RSPCA are a very controversial organisation these days because they seem to have spent like millions over the past 3 or 4 years on what some people interpret as their personal political
the chief executive
agenda.
Takes $160,000 a year.
Yeah.
Which is more than his predecessor, who earned between 110 and 120.
Yeah, but that's not huge for a charity these days.
Yeah, but that's why you don't give them money, though.
I don't give them money anymore.
Why should you support a guy that's on 160,000 a year?
Some of the charities pay their chief execs 350, 360,000 a year.
Yeah.
They've become businesses, big businesses. I've given up to donating to national and international charities.
They've got two other unidentified bosses making 150 and 130,000 respectively.
It's an absolute disgrace. And the thing about the RSPCA is they've been accused of pursuing a political agenda against fox hunting and launching private prosecutions against hunts and all sorts of things.
Yeah, they've spent 11.2 million a year on prosecution.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Exactly. Considering we have a police force in this country which is supposed to pursue prosecutions, a lot of people who used to give to the RSPCA but don't anymore want to know where that money's going. But that's a totally different story. What we really need to be talking about...
I just think you shouldn't be supporting a group like that, which is sort of not quite doing what it says on the tin.
I don't. I support the bunny rabbits that need help. And the biggest organisation...
What have you done for them today,
then? I'll tell you in a minute. The biggest organisation in this country that helps distressed animals, despite its political agenda and the fact that it pays its executives vast amounts of money, is, I'm afraid, the RSPCA.
Is that right?
So you have to go with them, yeah. Yeah, definitely,
okay.
yeah.
All right, well, we'll get some more ideas from you on that one coming up very shortly.
Yes.
We are the Two Mics. We're going to talk about infidelity, funnily enough, coming up in the show a little bit later on. And, of course, Simon Johnson from The Standard is going to be here. He was at Wembley watching England lose to Holland.
Yeah.
Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out. It's Ask Porky coming out in a little while as well. We've got loads and loads of great questions on Facebook and on Twitter. But if you'd like to have one read out that nobody has read out before, by all means send it in at the Two Mics or find us on the Facebook page. Here's one from James. He says, tell Porky we wore a sky blue in Mexico 1970 World Cup. And to read more books. I don't remember sky blue.
Against who?
Well, in the World Cup. In Mexico in 1970, presumably against somebody. Well, I don't know if he hasn't specified a game.
Did he say semi-final?
No, he just says in the 1970 World Cup.
No, we didn't. We played Germany in the quarter-final. We didn't get to the semi-final. We got to the quarter-final. We went out 3-2. Well, yeah, but
he's not specifing a game. He's just saying that there was a sky blue
kit.
I must say, I don't remember that.
No, there definitely wasn't. His head is fogged by the sun. We played in white. Completely white, and the whole idea was
that the first World Cup that was on? I think I watched it in black and white.
No, it was in colour.
It would have been in colour,
yeah,
but see, my dad never bought a colour TV.
No, why is that?
Because he said that the only place you can see things in black and white is on the television.
Is that right? Yeah.
Which is quite an interesting perspective. He's an artist.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the first time he got a colour TV was when I was at university, and I was one of my friends.
So you were never able to watch snooker at home then?
I think we did watch it a little bit.
How could you watch snooker at home?
Because you could tell what was going on.
No,
if
you
were a good snooker player.
No. In black and white, you couldn't possibly tell which ball you were.
No, most of the time you could because the actual tone of the ball. Say, for example, if you think you can't tell between a yellow and a pink, you kind of can in black and white.
Well, you think you can.
No, I thought
can't.
I could. Yeah.
No.
Well, I remember watching snooker as a kid. Like I watched Pop Black all the time.
Yes.
We didn't have a colour TV.
Yes. Yeah, but there was only like one game that lasted half an hour. And Steve Davis. Steve Davis made his debut on Pop Black. You know.
Yeah. Well, it was more like people like Ray Reardon and others like that.
Yeah. Well, John Spencer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
But I was at university with a guy who was an electrical engineer.
Oh yes.
And he fixed TVs in his spare time.
Really?
So he sold me a big old colour TV. So when I was about 18 and a half, I gave my dad a colour television.
Oh, really?
And that was the first time I had one.
What, you carted it back from Bath?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Put it in a van.
Right, whose van?
The guy, I think it was the guy who fixed the TV.
What, lent you his van as well?
No, I think he drove me there. He had a van.
It's kind of a weird range,
Why
isn't
is it weird?
Well, yeah.
It's only 80 miles from Bath to London.
Here's a knackered old TV. I'll repair it for you, and then I tell you what, let's put it in the van and drive it up to Hampstead in London, give it to your dad.
Yeah, why not?
Weird arrangement.
What's weird about that?
Well, it's very strange.
What's strange about it? Well, why do you think that's strange?
Well, I think it's very strange to go around giving your father knackered old televisions. You know,
all of my friends got on.
Seems to me to be rather
most
weird.
Most of my friends at university were very good friends with my parents because they all got on very well. So.
I never gave my father a broken down television.
You had all sorts of weirdness about your relationship with your father, and so you probably would have thought, if I give him a TV, I have to buy the best TV of all time.
No, not at all. I don't give people second-hand bits of junk furniture as presents. But anyway, there you go.
Well, I couldn't afford a new TV. I was a student.
No, well, you shouldn't have been buying TVs.
He was very happy.
You should have spent money on your studies instead of wasting the 2 years that the state paid.
Oh, right. How did you get on at Trent Poly?
When I decided that my talents lay in the field of journalism, I immediately withdrew from the course and paid back the money that
you did not pay back the money.
Did.
That is absolute rubbish.
I did.
You show me the proof that you paid back the money.
How can I do that? It was 35 years ago.
By not smiling at the moment as you are now with that guilty look. You're just such a liar.
No,
you did not pay them back anything.
No, excuse me.
You didn't pay them back.
Excuse me. Can I just explain?
Yeah, go on then. Tell us how you did it.
The 3-year course, I was 4-year course.
4 years?
Because 1 year was a year out.
What, 4 years to learn how to plant a pot in a landscape?
No. It's called urban estate management. So it was buying and selling property, it was surveying property, it was building property.
Did you learn how to use one of those odolites?
Yeah, I did, theodolite.
Sorry. In your case, it was an odolite.
We used to go to I think I've told you this story before, we used to go to the Arboretum in Nottingham, in the centre of Nottingham, which is an undulating park. And we'd pay some...
park?
Hey?
A park?
It was a park, yeah. And we'd pay some thick kid to stand at the other end of the park and hold up a red and white striped pole for 20 minutes while we went to the pub, which was on the other side of the park gate. And the reason for that was that the guy who was head of the class was looking through his theodolite at the other end of the park and all this kind of stuff, you know. And all we had to do was wave it around. So he didn't, and because there was a hill in between, he didn't know who was holding the pole. So that's what we used to do every Friday afternoon.
And who was this poor soul that you managed to hoodwink into doing that for you?
He was a Scots guy.
Did you pay him?
Oh, the kid holding the pole?
Yeah.
Oh, he was just another student. I mean, we kind of intimidated him. We told him we didn't. We beat him up.
Oh, that's nice.
He was he was a weasel, sort of kid. You know what I mean? But we did buy him a drink after we'd all finished, and we let him come to the pub after it was finished, and we bought him a drink.
Very kind of you.
But no, the point of my story is, so it was a 4-year course.
Yeah.
So by withdrawing in the first year, right?
Yeah.
I then worked for 3 years. In which time I, of course, paid the government taxes, which I would not have paid had I been...
So you didn't actually pay back the cost
of the tuition? I paid it all back and more.
No, but not physically paid back.
I paid it back and more by paying my taxes, becoming a useful member of the working population.
You told me you used to get paid...
Not a parasite student who was welching on the social services budget.
You told me you got £22 a week in a packet on a Thursday.
I did.
From which £2 had been deducted.
Yes.
So you paid £2 a week in tax and national insurance.
Indeed.
For the course of 3 years.
Yes.
So let's work that out. That's about 450 quid.
Indeed.
So you think that paid for your education?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
No wonder you're so badly educated.
No. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Shocking.
I paid back every penny.
Absolutely shocking.
But I mean, this is all completely irrelevant, really. What we should really be talking about is where do we go from here with the Team Angleterre?
How about this? There's a picture of Bobby Moore in 1970 wearing a blue kit.
Let me see.
That is Bobby Moore, is it not? That picture.
Let me see.
That's Bobby Moore.
Hang on.
What do you mean, hang on? That's Bobby Moore.
No, I'll tell you that is Peter Osgood.
Is that Peter Osgood?
That's Peter Osgood, yeah.
You're right, so it is.
It's absolutely. And,
but is he wearing a blue kit?
Well, it looks like that in the deep, hot Mexican sunshine.
Are you saying, well, yeah, but the guy behind him is wearing a white one, and it looks white.
Yes. No, that could be said. But, I mean, that was a practice game anyway. That wasn't a competitive game.
How about this from Dan the Baggy? Yeah. Mexico was 86, no blue kit, though.
Mexico was 70 and 86.
But it was 70 as well, Dan the Baggy, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, it certainly was, yeah. Anyway, look, it's all happened now. The game's come and gone.
So you're going to take it back about blue, because here's one from 1970. That's the sky blue kit there. Somebody else has sent that in.
Yes, that is sky blue, but that's all sky blue. That is not white with sky blue flashes.
No, but you said they've never played in sky blue, though.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah,
I didn't say that. I said that we shouldn't be at the moment.
And here's the blue shirt from 1990.
Oh, That's dreadful, wasn't it? That one. I remember that one. I tell you what.
Anything that's like a
David
mosaic.
Platt wore it, and it looked like somebody had thrown blue and white paint at the wall, literally on those.
But any of those
things that people go to on these ridiculous stag nights. They fire paintballs at each other. Oh, yeah. That's what that shirt looks like, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is, anything that's like a mosaic, just doesn't really work, does it? Do you remember Manchester United wore that terrible kind of grey thing?
I mean, there's some terrible ones. Yeah. I mean, what about the Arsenal one that was sort of black and yellow checks or something? Oh, yeah. It was just disgraceful.
Horrendous.
Not even worth talking about, to be honest. Right, now, what I want to talk to you about, I want to talk to you about a lot of issues tonight, but in particular, I want to talk to you about the Rolling Stones.
Do you?
I think they're letting this country down.
Why?
Well, have you seen some footage of them playing out in Cuba?
I saw them playing in Cuba, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was on the news.
So what I'm looking at...
Sounded about as bad as they always do.
Oh, it was terrible. I mean, I just don't know why they can't take enough backing musicians with them to try and replicate the studio sound of...
No, but that's not the point of the Rolling Stones.
The opening song was Jumpin' Jack Flash, right?
Yeah.
And it honestly sounded like Mick Jagger was singing it through a tin can... Right.
Yeah, but don't forget, you're not picking up the best of the audio, are you, when you're doing it from a sort of remote camera?
Well,
it's not like they're plugged into the desk.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it sounded tinny. It sounded like Mick Jagger was singing through a tin can. It sounded like Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood were playing like acoustic guitars, and Charlie Watts was beating one of those drums that a 6-year-old kid gets for Christmas. You know what I mean? That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, but they've always sounded like that.
Yeah, okay.
I saw them in 1989. 1979, I should say, at Wembley. And it sounded exactly like that then.
It sounds terrible.
But it's the occasion that you're going to rather than the actual... You're not expecting studio quality sound.
Mick Jagger now looks so old and so thin. I think he looks anorexic.
I think he looks great. And he's very fit.
And the way he, his body movements now, all this, flapping his hands around and shrugging his shoulders. Which he's always done. Looks pathetic for a man of his age.
Really?
It does. It truly looks utterly pathetic.
Think people of his age should be on the stage?
I don't think people of his age should be on the stage.
Why not?
I think it's disgraceful. I think he's making an absolute fool of himself, and the legend of the Stones will end up now.
Well, thousands and thousands of people don't agree with you.
Well, this is the point. Now, they said that there was an attendance of 450,000, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's all very well the Stones saying, we had the biggest live crowd over 450,000. Yeah. Can I tell you this?
Right.
That crowd didn't go and watch the Rolling Stones. That crowd demonstrated for the first time in 50 years we're allowed to gather and assemble in a public place and listen to a rock group.
Yeah.
That rock group, frankly, could have been Black Lace.
Black Lace?
Yeah, it could have been Chirpy Cheap Cheap.
No, I don't think they've got enough of a repertoire.
I'll tell you something. Let me tell you this.
I don't think they've got enough of a repertoire.
Let me tell you this. If I'd have turned up there with a banjo...
Well, two mics could have done it. Is that what you're saying?
Never mind the two mics.
I think we would have had a lot of frozen fruit thrown at us.
If I'd have turned up there with a banjo and called my group, Porky, Parry and the Pigs, and got up on stage and started playing...
This is akin to you saying that you're a better broadcaster than Laurence Olivier's an actor.
No.
You're starting to rack up quite a sort of rap sheet here.
And did my own version of When I Get Older, Losing My Hair many years from now.
Yes.
Which, by the way, a lot of people...
When I'm 64.
Yeah, when I'm 64, a lot of people during the Chelsea game applauded that one that I sang for them. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
On the train.
What Chelsea game?
Nobody's applauding.
No, I was getting tweeted by people on the train saying not only was nobody applauding, but nobody was joining in.
No, it was true. But anyway, the point is, what I'm saying is, I think the Stones went to Cuba because then they could boast, look how popular we still are.
They're selling out shows all over South America.
No, any group in the world could have turned up in Cuba.
Not true.
And because...
but the Rolling Stones were there because they'd been previously banned. Because that was the whole point of it.
Exactly, because Raul Castro had decided, that the country's now so bankrupt they need Western money, so lift all the restrictions that were there before.
Well, no, because they've decided to desert your mate Putin and become part of the Western world and the Western economy.
No. Russia dropped Cuba the minute the Berlin Wall went down.
Now you're spouting the old the mantra from the Handlers.
No. Russia dropped Cuba because, Cuba were mad under Fidel Castro. So mad that they weren't even welcome within the satellite union of the Warsaw Pact.
Despite the fact that almost supporting Cuba almost caused World War III, they decided to drop them for being mad.
Yeah, well, that's one reason why they dropped them. The old Khrushchev era.
Well, it took a long time.
Airbrushed in history.
That happened in 1963.
That happened in 1963, and that's airbrushed in history. You don't talk about that anymore, OK?
No, what are you talking about now? The new Russian propaganda.
Well, I'm hoping Cuba will return to something like like it was under Batista, who was Batista, who was the great leader.
Who's Batista?
Batista was the great leader, and Cuba was a bit like Las Vegas offshore. You know what I mean? And I hope it returns to that.
As it was in Godfather 2.
As it was in Godfather 2.
Is that your historical point of reference?
Well,
it is, isn't it?
It is one.
Yeah,
it is one,
it's
certainly.
The only one.
They went to a live sex show, didn't they?
They certainly did.
Haven't been any live sex shows in Cuba for the last 50 years, but I bet they return very quickly now.
How do you know?
Sorry?
How do you know?
Well, I assume they're not. I don't think within the Communist Manifesto live sex shows are part of the gig.
Oh, well, you tell me. I mean, you're the expert.
Yeah. Well, I am. I agree, yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Ask Porky coming up a little bit later on. This was the tour I saw them on, actually. The Start Me Up tour, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, but you see, that's a studio version of that.
Tattoo You.
It sounds
was
nothing
the name
like...
of the album.
Eh?
Tattoo You was the name of the album.
That wasn't a Stones album.
Yeah, it was. Tattoo You.
No, I know all the Stones albums.
Well, you don't. You only know Exile on Main Street. It's the only one you've ever heard of. How many Stones albums can you name, then?
Oh, quite a few.
Go on, then, name one.
Beggar's Banquet.
Yeah.
Sticky Fingers.
Yeah.
High Tide and Green Grass.
Uh-huh.
Get Your Yah-Yahs Out.
Yeah.
What else do you want to know? What else?
Greatest hits.
Exile on Main Street, of course.
Yeah, you've said that one, yeah.
Yeah, Greatest Hits, yeah, that's right. Let me see.
Well, what about some more modern ones?
Oh,
what about, like post Ronnie Wood?
Well, they weren't hits, so they can't name them.
Of course they were.
No, they weren't hits.
Of course they were.
The Rolling Stones haven't written a decent song in 40 years.
That's not true.
No, hang on, it's longer than 40 years.
That's not
true. The last time they wrote a decent song...
You don't like Start Me Up?
...was 1970, so they haven't written a decent song in 46 years.
Really?
47 years.
It's actually in your opinion.
48, 49. Hang on, how long is it? 70, 30, 46 years.
70, 30,
no,
46.
46 years.
Yeah.
They haven't written a decent song in 46 years.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, that is my opinion, yeah.
By everybody.
Yeah.
H in Hull says, "Hi guys, so England defeat Germany, it's nothing to do with Hodgson. Then lose to Holland, it's all Hodgson's fault. I thought Hodgson picked both teams and so he was responsible for both results. Or is it one rule for the England manager and a different one for all the others?" Well, what I'd say to that, H, is that, as I said, his selection for the England-Germany game actually wasn't particularly brilliant. It was only in the second half when he brought Vardy on that things actually started to hot up a bit.
But also, the selection for the Germany game was forced upon him by the outstanding form of a load of English players that he's had nothing to do with, but which were introduced into the Premier League by Pochettino and Claudio Ranieri.
And also because of Wayne Rooney's injury. If
Wayne Rooney's injury.
If Wayne Rooney had been fit, he would have been playing in both games. You can be absolutely sure. But let's talk to Simon Johnson. He was at the game.
Indeed.
And we'll find out from him what the mood of the fans was. Because I heard some booing and the mood of Roy Hodgson and the mood of the players. Simon, very good morning to you.
Morning, chaps. How you doing?
Yeah, very well indeed, thank you.
There was a bit of booing when that second goal went in from Holland. So tell us what the atmosphere was like.
It was one of the weirdest atmospheres I've ever experienced at Wembley because I don't know what was happening, but it was almost like, I don't know whether the win over Germany had raised everyone's expectations, but it was flat. It was so flat throughout the whole night. I mean, obviously England didn't exactly get them off their seats or give them reason to get excited. But
the goal was quite good, though, wasn't it? The England goal.
The goal was very good, but very in-keeping with the performance. It sort of came out of the blue. It was a lovely little move, but yeah, it was almost like the reality check hitting everyone firmly, squarely in the face. Right. That everyone suddenly realised that perhaps England aren't going to win the Euros after all, which is kind of what everyone seemed to be starting to think, just because we beat Germany in a meaningless friendly.
Yeah, and when you say meaningless friendly, the Germans have an attitude towards those friendlies, don't they? See, my grouse, Simon, is Roy Hodgson after the game whinging and moaning about, didn't get the rub of the green on the penalty decisions, and that decision went against us and all that. And after the Germany game, he was really expounding on what a genius he was. And after the game tonight, expounding on how unlucky he'd been. There's no consistency with the man at all. Doesn't he realise that actually the selection in Germany was something that was nothing to do with him? No Wayne Rooney, so he had to improvise. He improvised with players provided for him by Spurs and by Leicester. And actually, that's the only time he's got it right, is when a group of players who he had nothing to do with suddenly emerged in the Premier League this season.
Well, he certainly has a lot to thank Tottenham Leicester for. You're
Indeed.
Right to point that out. I mean, I think where he did deserve some credit in Berlin was that he did pick Dele Alli to play behind Harry Kane, and I think that to get those two, that's still a big call, even though you could argue that it's stating the obvious given how well those two have been linking up for Tottenham. It's still a big call to put a 19-year-old in against that experienced German lineup, but I think we have to sort of recognise the fact that I thought the Germans were going through the motions on Saturday, and we'll see a very different Germany side at the Euros when there's something on the line. And
yeah, of course,
it was very enjoyable Saturday night. But it is what it is. You know, it was just a nice little friendly win, and like I said, the defeat against Holland tonight, albeit with a vastly different team, is just sort of shown that we're not all that, and certainly. What is consistent about both performances is at the back we're very poor.
Well, that is biggest part of the problem, really, because there's almost an embarrassment of riches up at the front end now, isn't there, for England, with Sturridge and Vardy and Kane and Welbeck and various others. But you've got this Everton problem at the back, haven't you? Jagielka last night falling over, and John Stones still doesn't seem to quite understand that he can't just wander about with the ball whenever he feels like it.
I'd say that the worst thing that's happened to both Chelsea and John Stones was their flirtation last summer. It's done neither of them any good. Chelsea were so obsessed with him, missed out on him, and they got so distracted by it all that it definitely didn't help their preparations. And you have to say John Stones has not really had the season we all hoped he would. As the season's gone on, he's made more and more mistakes, and he is currently sort of struggling to get in the Everton side, and his confidence does seem to have been rocked a lot. Yes, he's very good on the ball. He showed moments of that again at Wembley, but he also showed that what is his greatest strength, arguably, is also his great weakness.
Well, it's like a lack of judgment. He doesn't seem to know when to do it.
Yeah, and the crowd, and getting back to the crowd, look, the amount of times there was nervous sort of murmurings and concern every time he was trying to do something fancy on the edge of his own area. Yeah. Look, it's commendable that we have a defender that is that confident on the ball, but at the end of the day, he has to remember what his day job is, and that's to defend and keep things safe. And you can imagine if Hodgson does decide to pick him in the summer, that all the teams that England play against will be sort of thinking, right, let's target this guy, let's press him every chance we got, because there's a big mistake.
Or just give him the ball if you want to score a goal, because he's bound to fall over or give it back to you at some point in a very dangerous situation.
Don't be ridiculous. I mean, I think I'm right in saying, Simon, that Rio Ferdinand exhibited a bit of this at that age. You know what I mean? The guys like that are so comfortable. Are you
saying he's as good as Rio Ferdinand?
Well, he will be. He'll be better than Rio Ferdinand.
I think so.
They feel so comfortable with the ball. They simply don't want to...
Yeah, but he's not comfortable with the ball because he keeps losing it.
No, he's very comfortable with the ball. I've seen him play for the season before this one when he was very comfortable with the ball. I don't know what's happened to him this season. He's made a few errors.
He's become the subject of the Porky jinx, hasn't he?
No, not the Porky jinx. What he's become subject of is trying to expand his game, and perhaps he's done that a bit too fast, Simon. Perhaps he needs to just contain himself again.
Well, yeah, and of course Roberto Martinez is not exactly renowned for his ability
to organise defences.
Yeah, exactly. And I touched on it before, not just the Chelsea link, but of course there have been other clubs circling around in Man City, Barcelona, and you do wonder whether all this has proved a bit of distraction. Has it all gone to his head a little bit, that he thinks there's this finished article that can just carry the ball out as he pleases and do what he wants? I mean, he did show there was that great moment, for example, not only for the build-up to England's goal, but there was, in the second half, a beautiful little ball into Theo Walcott, which led to a shot, and you just sort of thinking that is something that few players further up the pitch can do, let alone a centre-half.
That's right. Yeah, but you don't want a guy who's playing for the gallery and playing for his next job, do you? You want a guy who's doing the job that he's been hired to do.
Yes, and that's why I go back to what decision Hodgson has got to make this summer. I mean, Gary Cahill, you'd hardly say he's ideal because he's not had the best seasons at Chelsea, and and has always tended to prefer, sort of be deferential to a senior man like John Terry at Chelsea, and I'm not sure he's a leader in his own right. It does look like Chris Smalling is almost like the first name on the team sheet, even though Cahill's more senior, because he played in both games, and it seems a direct choice between Cahill and Stones, and you'd have to say that knowing Hodgson the way you do, he's going to go for the more conservative choice, and that means Gary Cahill and Stones will be on the bench. Yeah,
probably. I mean, we must forget that, Rose conceded a penalty that didn't need conceding. I know that Jagielka started the mismatch that led to that penalty. But
Stones, wasn't
it? Stones started the mismatch, I'm sorry, yeah, which led to the penalty, but it was an absolutely pointless penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much, because it looked like we'd got out of jail, didn't we?
Yeah.
Forced to save the shot, and then it went out wide to the substitute, and he just sort of sent a cross in, and I'm not quite sure what Rose was doing there.
Exactly.
People are saying that he was trying to get his hand out of the way. Well, he didn't do it.
No, he didn't. I mean, defenders do slip, on greasy surfaces when it's raining 1 minute, it's not the next. And the whole idea of organised defence is that you rally round and you cover when your mate's in trouble, because I don't think he made a mistake. I think he slipped, and it wasn't like the Steven Gerrard thing in the sense that it was a blatant invitation to a forward to sprint away and get on goal. It was more complicated than that, and it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't result in a penalty, and Rose has got to take his share of the blame.
He does, and he also was lucky to get away with
the other one,
penalty after just 6 minutes.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, I did think Stones. He thought, you could tell, he thought about passing it backwards to Forster, then hesitated, and then as Janssen closed in on him, he then did fall over the ball, which gifted Janssen a run-in on goal. But yes, England still had a chance to clear their lines and didn't do so. And I think if you look at all 4 goals that England conceded over the 2 games, they're all really poor ones. And like I said, I think that's the big concern going into the summer is that we're just a shadow of the team defensively that we used to have, that the options we used to have. It's almost like we've switched around. Up front was the sort of attacking options we were worried about, and defensively we looked sound, but it's now gone the other way.
Indeed.
I just think teams will look at us and think, well, we can outscore them and knock them out, just as they were knocked out in the World Cup.
Indeed. I think you may well be right. Simon, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Simon Johnson there from the Standard, who was watching the game last night. Some matters arising from that we'll talk about in a moment. This is Talk Sport.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. A couple of people have sent in some more England kit with blue in it. James has sent in a picture from the Euro 96, saying that the Euro 96 kit had blue trim, by the way. Do you remember that?
Euro 96.
Euro 96.
Yes, it did.
There.
Yes.
It did have blue. So far, I think we've got about 6 different England kits that have got blue in.
Yeah, I didn't say they shouldn't have blue in them. What I said is it shouldn't be dominant, and the shoulder sort of pads on the England team last night were a light blue, which I thought was completely incongruous.
Really? Paul says this. How on earth can Porky criticise Mick Jagger? He's a total wreck of a man. Let's see Porky when he hits 70 if he makes it.
Sorry,
you think he'll make 70?
Sorry, do you mean Mick Jagger's a wreck of a man?
You.
He looks like a wreck to me.
No, you look a wreck of a man.
He looks anorexic. You remember Michael Jackson in the days before he sadly died? He looked terribly thin, and he was doing rehearsals for what was going to be a 30-day British tour.
No, but he was also very fit, though. He was a dancer, and that's what happens. I mean, when you dance around on stage, that's how you look.
Yeah.
I mean, your stage sort of personality does not involve dancing. I
think Jagger looked unusual. Unusually thin. You know, I just don't think it's right.
He's always been thin.
I think it's natural
for his body type.
Don't think it's natural for a person to look like that. Look, I tell you what I'm going to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
I want to talk to you about... actually, I forgot what I want to talk to you about. Oh, James Dean. James Dean. Now, somebody sent me a book on James Dean.
Really?
Right, now, you know, obviously...
Do you know there's now a Twitter account called Porky's Journals?
Porky's journals.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Well,
it's sort of in tribute to you.
Well, it is tribute because, I mean, the situation is I do study a lot of information in order to be able to come to the microphone and tell our millions of listeners a lot about what's going on in the world. You know what I mean?
I realise.
I regard myself as the conduit.
Selfless sacrifice of your own time.
Now, James Dean, right, now, during the course of Hollywood and all this kind of stuff, there's been sort of legendary Rogerisers, have there not? Errol Flynn.
Well, we talked about Errol Flynn last week, didn't we?
And the other guy, Shirley MacLaine's brother, Warren Beatty, that kind of stuff. James Dean was the most notorious of all.
Was he?
And he died when he was 24, didn't he?
Well, he died in a car crash.
Yeah, he was 24, wasn't he? Right, he would sleep with anybody to get ahead, says Darwin Porter, author of James Dean, Tomorrow Never Comes.
But he did get ahead, and presumably then he continued to behave
like
that.
Well, here, listen to this. He had 3 or 4 conquests each week, and though he wasn't the most handsome man, didn't have a great body, had 2 false front teeth, and was often rude to women and men.
He wasn't a handsome man? Of course he was handsome.
Well,
You've seen all those posters of James Dean. Wouldn't you say he was handsome?
He had 2 false front teeth. He was very rude to people, but men and women and men as well threw themselves at him. Right? Now, the thing is, this is amazing.
Well, he was a young and I would say attractive-looking Hollywood star.
Well, he was iconic. He was iconic.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen to this. Dean's secret lovers included, listen to this for a list, Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Joan Crawford.
He was in a film with Elizabeth Taylor, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, I think so.
What was it called?
I can't remember. But
was it Cat on a Hot Tin Roof?
No, that was Paul Newman. But
okay.
I'm pretty sure I've seen the film he was in with Elizabeth Taylor.
Right, okay. Joan Crawford and Judy Garland.
Yeah.
And the star of Giant and East of Eden. Have you ever seen a James Dean film?
Yeah, I've seen the one that he's in with Elizabeth Taylor, but I can't think of what it is.
Well, it could be Giant or it could be East of Eden.
I think it is Giant.
Giant, is it? Yeah, okay. East of Eden. Now, he was an equal opportunity lover, indulging in flings with... See, I can't believe this. It says he indulged in flings with Marlon Brando.
Right.
I didn't know Marlon Brando, swung each way.
Why not?
Well, I didn't know he did.
It was the 60s, man.
Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Steve McQueen.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Steve McQueen was the most macho man in Hollywood.
Well, sometimes that's sometimes that's not always as they seem.
I read a piece about Steve McQueen saying that when Steve McQueen used to get bored in his sort of Malibu home, he would go out, get on his motorbike, drive down on his motorbike to the nearest bus stop and invite any woman who was half good-looking to get on the back of his bike to come home for a bit of Rogerising with him in the afternoon.
Why not, indeed?
And he never got turned down. I mean,
I imagine even at a Malibu bus stop, the women are probably quite attractive.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. So,
you've been to Malibu?
Yes, I have, yeah. It is very weird, isn't it?
It's quite a weird place. You can't see the houses.
No, you can't see the houses.
They're all sort of buried in the rocks and the cliffs,
from the road, they drop, don't they, 30 or 40 feet onto the beach. Also, Rock Hudson and Spencer Tracy.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's quite well known that Rock Hudson was a man of mixed sort of sexual
yes, I don't think
taste.
That's a secret, no.
Well, he died of AIDS, didn't he?
He certainly did.
Yeah.
He was the first kind of high-profile case, really.
He was flown into Paris, wasn't he?
Well, he was the first high-profile case.
Yeah, he was,
of AIDS, yeah.
And Spencer Tracy. Now, Spencer Tracy, as far as I can remember it, and they've got the time sequel right, was about 60 years older than James Dean, wasn't he?
Well, why is that surprising to you?
Well, I mean, that means that James Dean was...
Loose, depraved behaviour goes on in Hollywood all the time.
Well, that's very loose and depraved, to start, romancing a man 60 years older than you.
Well, it's all right if you're a woman, then.
Well, no,
plenty of men romance women.
But
what about Hugh Hefner?
They haven't mentioned an old woman. They mentioned an old man, Spencer Tracy. Now, it says here, Dean was difficult, selfish and insecure, but he made love to some of Hollywood's greatest beauties. He dreamed of marrying Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
Dean met Monroe in 1955 and the pair quickly adjourned to a romantic weekend at a beachfront cottage. He was very loving and very romantic. Marilyn Monroe told actress Shelley Winters, "I've agreed to marry him." But after several weeks, they recognised that marriage would be disastrous.
Yeah.
"Let's admit the truth, both of us need babysitters," said Dean. Monroe agreed.
But why is any of this surprising? And also, all the people
I find it's incredible, all this.
Well, also, all the people that this guy's writing about are dead, aren't they?
Hey?
So, I mean, they don't really have any comeback. All the people...
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
All the people that this guy is saying were lovers of James Dean...
That's true.
Are all dead.
Yeah, listen to this. Marilyn Monroe was very jealous of Elizabeth Taylor because Dean fancied Elizabeth Taylor. Marilyn Monroe said of Elizabeth Taylor, she has a voracious sexual appetite and the morals of a truck driver. So it's better than having the morals of an alley cat, isn't it?
I don't know what the morals of a truck driver means.
Neither do I.
I mean, most truck drivers are very fine, upstanding members of the community, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I would have thought so.
Yeah.
But the affair between Dean and Elizabeth Taylor grew serious, despite the fact that Taylor was married to husband Michael Wilding. But Dean went to see Wilding and said, I've fallen in love with your wife, she's going to divorce you and marry me.
Right.
But like all the romances, his affair with Taylor crashed and burned. I mean, that's it's blinking amazing stuff, all that, you know.
I don't think it is. I don't know why you're so amazed by it all.
He started his life of romancing Hollywood beauties when he was $1.50 parking valet at a Hollywood hotel.
Right.
Dean bedded some of Hollywood's legends, including Joan Crawford and Tallulah Bankhead, when he was nothing more than a parking attendant.
Yeah.
I got to play with his bongos, said Bankhead. What does that mean?
Well, what do you think it means?
Well, I mean, you know, she's serious.
Yeah, of course.
Did he play the bongos, then?
No, I don't think that's what she means.
Well, I'm not sure. She can't mean anything else.
Why not?
Judy Garland became an occasional lover, even partaking in a threesome with James Dean and actor John Carlyle.
Really?
I mean, this is other conquests included.
I heard you so excited.
Eartha Kitt and Woolworth heiress Barbara Hutton.
Really?
Wow,
I interviewed Eartha Kitt's daughter once.
Oh, really?
She was a lovely woman.
Was she? Yeah. Well, I tell you what, that boy was active, was he?
He certainly was.
Yeah.
He certainly was. He did very well for himself.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for that. That's the latest on James Dean.
Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah.
Rebel Without a Cause. That was his most famous film.
That was one of them.
That kind of summed him up, really, didn't it?
Well, no, I think he had a cause. We just found out what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Eagles.
That's one of early Eagles
amazing.
songs, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Very good.
Yeah,
now, how about this from Ben in Birmingham?
Okay.
Am I missing something with Holland's second goal? Wasn't it the most blatant foul on Jagielka that you've ever seen? And then you two numbnuts, and he's talking about us, slagging off a team that had virtually 5 changes from Saturday's winning team.
Yeah, no.
That team would have beaten Holland easily.
Yeah.
Well, why did he pick it then, Ben?
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Birmingham?
That's exactly
For heaven's sake.
Exactly the point. Oh, you know, got to give some more players a chance to get in the squad. And
it's amazing how many people like to defend Roy Hodgson and say it's really unfair that he gets criticism.
Yeah.
Why? Does anybody not remember the World Cup in 2014?
Exactly.
England didn't actually win a game.
Exactly.
They went out after the first 2 games.
Yeah,
and
totally
they were one of
agree.
the first teams to come home early.
Totally agree.
By the way, tonight, Jurgen Klinsmann is up against it. Because America are playing Guatemala.
Oh, are they?
And we'll be keeping tabs on that, I think.
Well, hang on, are Guatemala any good?
Well, they beat them last week, 2-0.
They sound like a very small country,
Yeah,
Guatemala, compared to the United States.
They've played America, I think, 21 times, and they've only beaten them once.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But it happened to me last week.
But if Jurgen Klinsmann's lot lose again, I think he might be out of a job.
Oh, Jurgen.
Remy Gard is, of course, now out of a job.
Yeah, well, I mean, he deserves to be out of a job. He should never have been appointed in the first place. That was a ridiculous decision, so it's not really his fault.
How many days he was manager for?
Let me guess. I reckon he was manager for about 147.
Correct.
What?
147
days. Exactly, 147.
Exactly.
My God.
Did you just pick that out of the air?
Yeah, I did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
I mean, do you know why you said that, though? Because 47 is the most frequently occurring random number.
I didn't. I tried to work out what is about a third of a year, because I knew it did for about a third of a year.
That is spooky.
Well, there you go.
That is very good.
And what I was going to say was that I don't feel sorry for him. He's done a job for, like, less than half a year, because half a year would be 180 days.
Yeah.
And he's got the settlement, you know, the larger part of a settlement on a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, they...
But what's the point of firing him now? I mean, what is the point?
No idea. I mean,
unless you want to just throw money away.
Well, no. I mean, in fairness, it's a lost cause for Villa. They can't be saved. If they won every game between now and the end of the season, they'd have 37 points.
But what I'm saying is why pay a guy off at this point when you could just let him run to the end of the season and say cheerio?
I think that's because they realise that somebody's got to come in now and start working on preparing a team for next season to try and get back in the Premier League as soon as possible.
Could be David Moyes.
You see, this is another thing about this guy Conte, who might go to Chelsea and be their new manager.
The Italian guy.
Yeah, now he's going to make the same mistake that Louis van Gaal, we haven't mentioned him for a while.
No, he's been very quiet.
Made when he was the manager of Holland. Manager of Holland right through the summer, and then has to go and become...
he did quite well at the World Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, did quite well at the World Cup, and then has to become Manchester United manager, but starting very late in the summer because he's been looking after a national team. Yeah. Surely Chelsea need a manager who is actually going to start with them from the very last day of this season and work right through the summer. Yeah, but not a man who's going to come to them. Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They've got to find somebody, haven't they?
They've got to find someone who's not previously
employed. That man could be Pochettino.
No, Pochettino's got a job at Spurs already.
Yeah, I know, but
why would you leave Spurs, who are now second and could win the league, to go and join a team that is somewhere down in mid-table?
Well, because Chelsea's reputation for winning things is enormous. The wealth they have compared to Spurs, who are going to be hamstrung by the money needed to buy their new ground.
Except everybody's going to be more wealthy next season, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, but Chelsea are mega wealthy compared to any other club, and it would be a temptation very few managers in the world could turn down. I'm telling you.
Is that your prediction?
Oh, that's my prediction. Well, no, it's not my prediction. What I'm saying is, if Mr. Abramovich is a very ruthless man, he might decide to go down that route. Who knows? If he wants the best manager in the country at the moment. He's already dispensed with Jose. Yeah. He can't have Pep Guardiola because he's gone to Manchester City. The next guy on the list is Pochettino, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, and Manchester United might go after him as well. You never
know.
They
might.
Brian says this: the Manic Street Preachers played a concert in Cuba about 15 years ago with Fidel Castro in attendance.
Really?
Yeah, I think I remember that.
I don't know.
Mark says this: makes me sick hearing people continually knowing Hodgson in England. I think he means knocking. Yes. It was a chance for him to look at fringe players tonight.
Yeah.
I don't see why it would be.
Yeah, and who are the fringe players?
Well, like
John
James
Stones.
Milner.
Yeah, exactly.
John Stones.
John Stones not exactly a fringe player, is he?
Jamie Vardy.
Yeah. Hey, by the way,
Daniel Sturridge. These are all fringe players, are they?
Talking about music, right? Okay. Did you realise? For the first time ever? Beethoven has become more popular than Mozart in this country.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't realise there was a poll.
Yeah, there is a. Well, it's not. It's a chart. Now, there's another radio station somewhere in the ether which deals with just classical records, right? Not the pop records that people like Virgin deal with. You know what I mean?
Virgin
are launching tomorrow. Do you know that?
Oh, they are. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Very
Virgin
nice,
Radio.
Yeah. Good luck to them.
Yeah.
Very good. And what I was going to say that Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart has moved to the top. No, he's not. He's moved down from the top of the classic charts, right?
Well, what are they based on, though? Are they based on the number of plays they get, or are they based on the number of sales?
They're based on the number of requests made for records on this classical music station.
On Classic FM or something?
Well, I'm not mentioning a name. I'm not giving somebody free publicity.
Well, which station is it?
Well, I'm not telling you, but I mean, I don't think we should mention it. If it's not associated to our group, I think that's rather treacherous.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Do you?
Yeah. Now then, sorry, what's your problem?
I've never known you not to be treacherous in my life.
Oh, really?
But you suddenly now the sort of the holder up of all things to do with loyalty.
The amazing thing is, the last time either of them wrote a note of music was 1827. How about that? That's amazing. 1827.
Why is it amazing? That's when he was alive.
Nearly 200 years ago.
That's when the last time he wrote something.
It's nearly 200 years ago.
It'd be more amazing if he wrote something after he was dead.
What?
It'd be more amazing if he wrote something after he was dead.
Now, since this classical music radio station set up, they had a chart of 300...
Shall remain nameless.
A chart of 300 tracks.
Yeah.
Classical tracks.
Right.
And
so what's the top Mozart track then?
Well, hang on. There have been 19 pieces by Beethoven in the top 300.
Yeah.
Sorry, the current chart that's just come out. What are you laughing at?
I mean, you're making no sense at all.
Hang on, there are 19...
What on earth are you talking about?
There are 19 pieces by Beethoven in the current top 300.
Right. OK, 19.
In the new chart that's just been issued.
Yes.
But only 16 by Mozart.
So what you're saying is that there are more pieces by Beethoven than there are by Mozart.
Yes, that's right,
There are not actually more requests.
Well, the requests are reflected in the charts. No, the charts reflect the requests. That's what I meant to say. And sales.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And sales,
and
okay?
Sales.
And sales, yeah.
So what's the number one requested Beethoven piece then?
Right, I'm going to tell you.
What is it?
A guy called Sam Jackson, who is the managing editor of the unnamed station we're talking about.
Should we not be not naming him either?
Well, probably not. Yeah, probably.
Surely he should be the man that has no name.
Yeah, Sam.
The station.
Sam, the man with no name.
Sam with no name.
Right, yeah. He said that a possible cause was that Beethoven had benefited from a change in how the votes were gathered. That allowed
gerrymandering, you mean?
There's a bit of gerrymandering going on here, exactly. We gathered that allowed people to nominate tunes without knowing their titles.
Ah.
So,
you ring up and say, can I have some Beethoven, please?
No. What happens is you hum a tune. Oh, I like that. You nominate that. You know what I mean? I do that all the time. Often you'll play a song and I'll say, oh, yeah, I recognise that. I don't know who played it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, no, but if these are requests that are coming into the station, which shall remain nameless, presumably people are actually asking for the composer by name.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Well, here, listen, this explains it.
There's any point to this?
No, yeah, of course there is, yeah. Because we have to know what the musical tastes of the nation are all about, right?
Yeah.
So it says, this year, the station encouraged its voters to leave messages on an answering machine in which they either named the titles of their 3 favourite works, or, if they didn't know them, could sing the first few bars. See, I could do that. Couldn't I?
Well, you can just ring up and say, start singing to them.
I can ring up Virgin and say, right, number 1, when I get older, lose it. Number 2 is...
what is it?
Strawberry Fields Forever. And number 3...
You think you're a bit of a Beatles fanatic.
Yeah.
You throw something else in just to
number
put them
3
off the
is...
scent.
But when I need you, baby, can I see you? SOS. You see what I mean?
A bit of ABBA.
Yeah, a bit of ABBA, yeah.
I'm not sure Virgin are doing that sort of music.
Well, all right, anyway. So what happens is the system proved so popular that the said man with no name had to bring an extra staff to listen. They had to bring all these extra staff in to listen to thousands of recordings of people singing.
That's ridiculous. Unless you're going to play them out. Which I could see could be funny.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine that's the kind of thing they do.
But
What's the point of doing that?
I thought most classical music didn't have any words anyway. So what were they singing?
Well, they're humming the tune.
Oh, humming it. But it doesn't say it says they were singing.
Well, all right, let me ask you. Could you do your rendition of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony?
Yes.
Go on. That's not it.
What's that one?
No, it's da-da-da-da. It's that one.
Oh, that one. Okay, I can do that then.
Go on.
Do-do-do-do.
I think the other one you were doing was Handel's Water Music, wasn't it? What about Vivaldi's Four Seasons?
Yeah, I can do that, yeah. Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
Yeah.
I
don't think that's right.
I think it is.
I don't think it is.
No, I think that's actually something by... I think that's Beethoven, actually. Anyway,
so they'd have to, these poor souls would have to sit through that sort of rubbish
so
for hours on end.
System proved so popular that Sam with no name had to bring the extra staff to listen to thousands of recordings of people singing. We did it for the first time, said Sam, but we didn't promote it. I thought, let's encourage people who don't know the names.
Sounds a real genius, this guy, Sam.
Yeah. Don't know the names of the pieces.
You should get him here.
We then, that's right, yeah. We then had about 10,000 answer phone messages.
Right.
There are people listening to said station who don't know the names of every single piece they like, and why should they? Sam suggested that Beethoven may have suffered in the past because his pieces had less memorable names than Mozart's. He said
Beethoven's?
Well,
you can't remember Symphony No. 5.
Beethoven only ever wrote one opera. For him, there are lots of piano concerto numbers. Beethoven's most popular works do have nicknames such as Eroica, Emperor and Pathétique. But, said Sam, listeners might find it easy to remember pieces such as the overture to Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro. See?
What?
That's the answer.
What is?
That's the answer.
I don't even know what the question is.
Eh?
I don't know what the question is.
Why Beethoven has become the new favourite classical composer in this country and has taken top spot from Mozart for the first time ever in 10 years.
I'm glad we've sorted that out.
Beethoven's more popular among a new generation. How about that?
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. It's Ask Porky coming up in the next hour, of course. If you've got any problems with your fideliousness, as Mr. Parry would call it, this is the place to get your problem solved.
What is that song?
Before that, it's just Bed on Fire, isn't it?
What's that? What do we play that for?
Oh, it's Laid, sorry.
It's what?
Well, it's like, there was a lyric in there that if you were listening closely might have had some consequence.
I thought, as we've been talking about, classical music, we might have played a classical music track,
we're talking about infidelity now.
Infidelity, all right, okay,
yeah. We're finished talking about classical music.
Okay, yeah, fine.
And I should also tell you that apparently lots of people are telling me that the USA won 4-0 against Guatemala tonight.
Did they?
So, as Geordie Jeff says, Klinsmann fights on for another day.
Indeed, definitely.
So he's not going to be up for the Aston Villa job then, by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk to Lisa Daly, who is, of course, our relationship guru, who helps us out with these rather delicate matters. Because the latest suggestion from Facebook is that you can go on Facebook now, or you will be able to soon, and pretend to be somebody you're not, in order to be able to get yourself into an illicit situation. Let's find out what she thinks. Lisa, very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah, hello.
Very nice to talk to you. I hope you had a nice Easter.
I did have a lovely Easter. I hope you had a nice Easter as well. This Facebook thing is crazy, and I think it looks like you're not only going to be able to pretend to be someone else, but that you can hide your conversations, so your IM conversations, your messenger conversations, from your significant other. So if you happen to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend who's prone to, digging through your phone when you're in the bathroom or whatever, you can actually
that is a problem.
Messages so that they're not public.
See, that is a problem for a lot of people, isn't it? That they have a spouse or a significant other, as you say, who's always snooping around.
It is a problem, and the thing that's really interesting about this sort of concept of sneaking around and kind of snooping on someone is that sometimes the person is just really insecure and jealous, and it doesn't really matter what a stand-up person you are. You'd never cheat on them. You could be the best boyfriend or the best girlfriend in the whole world, and they're going to just think, the second you go down to the pub for 2 seconds, that you're obviously going to run off with some other person.
Right. It's even worse news, of course. It's even worse news if that's what you're actually doing.
Well, okay, so that's what I was going to say. So the other side of that coin is that you have a person who started off as sort of a secure person, and they actually have reason to suspect you, to not trust you, because you really are messing around on them.
Right. Well, I tell you what, Lisa, I think this is disgraceful. I mean, if this is actually a proposal to set up a system which encourages people to cheat on their partner, and that could be a wife, a husband, it could be...
This coming from a man who slept with about 10 married women, right?
Hang on, a long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, I think it's outrageous. I think it's scandalous, because, breaking up the family unit where children are involved and all that will obviously come into the mix, and I don't think this should be allowed. I think it should be banned.
Well, you didn't say that when you were knocking off various married women, did you?
This is completely irrelevant to what happened in the past. I'm talking about the moral fibre of the world.
He's talking about everybody else. He's not talking about him. No. Here's the thing with that. Obviously, it's not going to be a spectacular marketing strategy for Facebook to say, "Hey, we've got this new feature where you can screw around on your wife."
That's right.
Because that's going to tick off a lot of people. And the other thing is, Facebook has been very close-lipped about this. They're not saying anything either way about whether or not they're going to have this encrypted messenger feature. But I just have 2 words for anybody who's thinking that this is a good idea and that they'll now finally be able to screw around on their boyfriend or girlfriend in secret, and that is Ashley Madison. We think that these things are secret and secure and that we're never going to get caught.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if you're putting it out there on the internet, it's going to come up sooner or later.
Wasn't that just a big con, though, big PR job? Because I haven't read any stories about anyone actually being discovered.
Oh, I have.
Being members of Ashley Madison.
I have.
I've never really believed that story.
Lisa, I think I'm right in saying that there were several reports, weren't there, of people suddenly being exposed as mass adulterers.
No, but no individuals, though.
I think there were.
Were there, Lisa?
Well, there are lots of people. Actually, we have a show that was really popular here about this very sort of religious family, the Duggars, and it was discovered that one of the big clients of Ashley Madison was, in fact, one of the son, Josh Duggar, and that he'd been on the site for quite a while, and of course, when they downloaded all that data, they were also able to discern what his various preferences were.
And what were they? Do tell us.
Well, there were a few interesting things on the list. Spanking, I recall, was one of them, and he would like to teach someone other things, and he would like to learn things. But nothing that was like really shocking. It wasn't like, hang me upside down off of a bridge or anything.
Oh, really? Oh, that's one of my favourites.
was running around being, the most pious member of society. The spanking thing and, the bondage and all that was sort of an interesting thing.
That's right.
Doesn't make him a bad person, obviously.
No. Now, we've got some stats. We've got some stats here, Lisa, which I'd like you to comment on, please. Research has shown that almost 60% of men and over 45% of women will cheat at some point in their marriages. That is a shocking statistic. It means roughly 1 in 2 of everybody who's married, man or woman, at some stage during that relationship goes away and misbehaves with somebody else. We call it Rogerising in this country, and it's the sort of thing... The sort of thing that can lead to the breakdown of society. What's your response to those figures?
You've ended up seducing about 4 out of 10 of the married women you've ever consulted with.
I don't know why you keep going on about this.
Well, because I think it's important.
I'm trying to get a response from Lisa. Lisa, please,
It's true. It's true. It is very difficult to sort of ascertain exactly how many people are cheating because obviously people don't tend to share a lot about it. But that said... there's a lot of data that, when put all together, does show that at about 60% of men, about 45 to 50% of women, and it actually has increased every year that women have been in the workforce, just because obviously they have more opportunity. They're away from home. They have a nice expense account. But it happens in at least half of marriages, and there have been some statistics that put it as high as 80%, which is crazy if you think about 8 out of 10 marriages. At some point, somebody's going to fool around.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Is it not now time, though, Lisa, and I've said this before, that we accept that monogamy is just not a natural human state, that people are not meant to be with one person for their entire lives? It just doesn't work like that.
This is coming from a man, Lisa, just to fill in the background.
Well, there's no reason for you to explain.
Hang on.
It's a very obvious question.
This is coming from a man who went to the Marriage Guidance Council in this country and admitted to having at least 6 relationships with women other than his wife, OK?
That's not true.
That's the background.
No.
That's the background.
It was a very long time ago, anyway.
Yeah, that just hurts no matter what. Here's the thing. A lot of people think that that's true, that we are not meant to have monogamous relationships, and we do live longer than, if you're going to die at 35 and you're going to get married at 16, sure, you can make it for your whole life. But if you're going to get married at 30 and, die at 90, that's a whole lot longer time span.
It is.
Well, that's
deal
absolutely
is,
true.
Though, if you're going to have a mixed marriage, or if you're going to have an open marriage, or you're not going to be monogamous, it's really important that everybody is on board with that plan from the beginning. Because if you're 10 years in and you go, what I think we need in our relationship is more people, one person is going to really feel like they've been betrayed. So if that's how you really feel, find someone who feels the same way before you get involved.
Yeah, we see what you've said, Lucy, is absolutely right. You've got to remember that marriage started in the Middle Ages when people got married when they were about 14 or 15, and they were dead by the time they were 30. So a 15-year marriage wasn't tough. These days, people get married in their mid-20s.
You just said all this.
And hang on, and they're still going at 75 or 80. Who wants to be getting into bed with the same person for 55 years and watch that person turn from being a beautiful young woman into a wrinkled, gnarled old prune?
What about what she thinks of you?
Excuse me, and wouldn't you fancy changing the model somewhere along the line? It's a natural human instinct.
Yeah, Sid the sexist has reared his ugly head again.
No.
I think that there are some people that would think it's lovely to get in bed with the same person for 60 years, and there are other people that can't think of any torture that's worse.
Exactly.
So it depends on the kind of and I'm guessing, I'm just going to take a wild guess here and try to figure out what kind of person you might be. But yes, if you're thinking that you'd like to trade in your girlfriend or your wife for a newer model, every 5 or 10 years.
Well, Donald Trump does, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
He does. That's so funny. I was just going to say that. It's certainly something that happens. Although generally speaking, the older you get, the more cash you have to have on hand. Once you hit about 70, it's going to be a lot harder to snag those 25-year-olds unless you're really, really interesting, or you have
wealthy,
or very wealthy, or have some amazing bedroom skills.
Well, hang on. I'm not sure which category.
Porky gets 2 out of 3 there.
No, I'm not sure which category he falls into. But one of the world's media moguls, Mr. Rupert Murdoch, just recently took on his 4th wife, didn't he? And, you know, he certainly falls into the category of mega wealthy.
He's 3 out of 3 on that, I think.
Yeah, I think he probably is, yeah. yeah. So it certainly does help when you've got a £1 billion bank account, doesn't it?
It helps a lot. There are. I wouldn't say a lot, but there are certainly a number of beautiful, smart women who are willing to sell their youth and beauty for a nice, big billionaire bank account.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing.
It's unfortunate. They should use those talents, make their own $1 billion. But
that's what they're doing.
There are women who are willing to do that.
But what was it Anna Nicole Smith who married when she married that really old guy? Do you remember? She said that she was basically going to, have sex with him until he died.
That's right. And then take all his money.
And then take all his money.
But she didn't get it, did she?
2 weeks.
Yeah, but she didn't get it.
Really, she had to sort of fight his family, all that time, and
then she died.
I don't think it really ever ended.
Yeah, and she
died.
I tell you what, this was all encompassed in that famous Eagles song, Lisa, "Crying Eyes," "Lying Eyes," "Lying Eyes." Yeah, isn't it?
What are you talking about?
No, the word.
Lying eyes, crying eyes. Whatever.
Well, considering that you have such high moral fibre now,
yes,
presumably all the married women that you are rogerising told their husbands about you, did they?
Well, this was a long time ago, and all I did was help them understand their relationship.
You spoke to one of them on the radio.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I spoke to one of the husbands on the radio.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but he didn't know that I'd been
How about this,
having
Lisa?
sex with his wife.
This guy rings into the radio station. Porky talks to him on the phone.
Yes.
The guy doesn't know that he's actually rogerising his wife.
Yeah, well,
How shocking is that?
Well,
How did you know he was the husband, is what I want to know. How did that happen?
Because when he rang in, first of all, I knew what his name was. Secondly, I knew he was a big fan of mine. This all came through his wife, right? And thirdly...
he had the phone number.
No, he had so many details of, I thought, I know this is. And I was tempted to sort of reveal, something rather sensational. And then I decided, no, that would be too harmful. So I didn't. I was kind.
Good.
I was kind.
What was his name?
It was a good instinct to go with.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I'm not saying his name. He's not ridiculous.
Lisa, listen, a pleasure as ever. What's going on in your? Have you got a book out at the moment?
I actually just finished a new novel, but I think probably the book that is most relevant to what we are talking about tonight is my book, Is He Cheating or Is She Cheating? There are actually two of them.
Right.
Figure out how to...
It's a very short book, right? Because presumably for the first 2 pages it just says yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Here's what to do about
it.
Exactly.
All right, Lisa, thank you very much indeed. As ever, a pleasure. Sorry to have to inflict old Sid the sexist on you there for a moment. But,
not at all.
We've got an alarm for that now, for whenever that comes on.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Do you want to hear it?
No.
Spoken like a true man.
Yeah, well, I'm not very proud of that. No, thank you.
Not proud of what?
Well, that ridiculous sort of, what is it?
Sid the sexist alarm.
Oh, rubbish.
This is Talk Sport.
Spoken like a true man.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Good for you now? A bit of classical music?
I think it's marvellous, don't you?
Yeah, very good.
I love classical music.
I know you do.
I wish I'd spent much more time listening to it during
I wish you'd spent much more time studying it.
During my youth and all that kind of stuff. Now, here's a question.
Have you ever been to a classical concert?
No, I've been to a ballet. Been to a ballet. Went out with a girl once. Hey?
Which one?
Swan Lake.
Are you just saying that?
No.
That's the only one you know?
No, it was Swan Lake.
Where was it on?
It was on at the Royal Opera House.
Was it?
Yes.
So it was a Royal Ballet then?
In Covent Garden.
Was it the Royal Ballet?
What do you mean?
Well, the Royal Ballet Company.
Well, I suppose so.
It might have been the Bolshoi. I mean, I went to see...
No, it wasn't the Bolshoi.
I saw the Bolshoi doing Ivan the Terrible.
Oh, did you?
It was awful.
Really? Yeah, sounds
terrible. I left at half-time.
I went to the Bolshoi Ballet building in...
Bolshoi Ballet building?
Yeah, in Moscow.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, I'm sure. The brilliant Bolshoi Ballet building.
Yeah, but I didn't see any dancing there. No, I was a load of Bloxio, yeah. But I didn't see any dancing there.
No.
Because I didn't want to see any.
You know what I used to do? And do you know where Kenwood is?
Yes, I know where Kenwood is.
Right opposite the Spaniards Inn.
Hampstead Hill.
Hampstead Heath, yeah.
Hampstead Heath,
it's
that's
sort of between Hampstead and Highgate.
It
well,
is.
Every summer they had a sort of mini Hollywood Bowl You know,
okay, yeah,
but it was in the open air, and there was a lake.
Yeah,
and they used to do the 1812 overture.
Oh, I see.
On a Saturday night in the summertime.
Right,
and you could go and just sit on a blanket and take a picnic and all that.
And take all your wine and all that. I love that.
When I was a child, so I used to go with my parents.
Yeah, but
and then they had fireworks at the end.
Have you never done that as an adult?
I think I have, but
do you know where I did it once?
Where?
You know, Mountbatten.
Not Glyndebourne.
No, not Glyndebourne.
That's a bit too posh.
But something a bit similar. Mountbatten's home down in Hampshire is called. I tell you what's there: the Bewley Motor Museum.
Okay, so it's Bewley then.
Well, no, it's not Bewley. It's called something else. But anyway, it's a huge stately home.
Yeah.
And they have a huge, lawns.
Right.
And in the summer, you can go down there and you take, like you've quite rightly said, you take your picnic basket and you take your box full of chilled wine.
Or your box of wine, even.
No, you don't take boxes of wine. You take a
box of wine. It's easier, isn't
it? Well, you could, but you take this big box. It's like the size of a suitcase with about 6 bottles of wine in it, you know. No, seriously. And you go and sit...
So you stay the night, then?
Well, no. You get a car to pick you up afterwards and take you back to wherever you're from Bournemouth, actually. Right. We were staying at the time. And what happens is, I can't sit on the ground on a blanket. I find that repulsive.
Why?
It's too close to worms and all that kind of stuff.
What's wrong with worms?
Well, I like worms. So what we do is...
Do you take a little folding seat?
Yes, exactly.
Or a shooting stick
We take the fold-up seats, like the director's chair.
How bourgeois. That's
terrible.
It's
great. And
so all the people around you are sitting on the ground.
Well, some
and you're sitting above them on a chair.
No. A lot of other people.
That's typical of you.
No, a lot of other people take their seats.
That's typical of you.
Actually, I had a seat with my own name written on the back. What's wrong with that?
What did it say?
It said Mike Parry.
Mike Parry, plank.
Yeah. No, Mike Parry, just in case anybody tried to nick it. And I tell you what happened one time, which is rather alarming.
Yeah.
Did
you have that made?
I had the name put on the back. Yeah.
Why?
Well, because I thought, you might go there and there might be dozens of them and somebody might nick it or something like that.
Was it like a canvas back?
Yeah, canvas back.
So was it just sort of written on in Tipex or something?
No, it wasn't written on Tipex at all. It was
proper calligraphy.
Yeah, it was.
Well, how'd you get to do that?
Well, they had a letter machine which actually pressed them on, and then they put it on. They attached it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
One of those things you buy at the back of the Daily Express magazine.
Yeah. So, they just pinned it on, so to speak. It was on the cover. But anyway, the point of my story is.
What is the point?
One time we went, there was quite a group of us, maybe about 8, and we took
Bournemouth.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And we took, we got a minivan, like a mini bus. A minibus, that's right, yeah.
Anything worse.
No, it's great. So we also took these fire sticks.
Fire sticks?
Yeah, you stick them in the ground, and they've got a candle in the top.
Uh-huh.
You see what I mean?
Now, these are things that keep away the bugs.
Keep away the bugs, and they've got like a...
So you arrive in this idyllic setting.
Yes.
Right, where people are happily ensconced on their blankets.
That's right.
With their roast chicken.
That's right.
And their sort of, vegan salad and
yes,
all that.
Very much
and
so.
And you set up a camp like some kind of Henry VIII scenario with chairs, fires, and everything else.
That's right. We defined our territory by putting these 6 fire as a border to our territory.
Did anybody else have any of these things?
Yeah, a few people did, actually.
Did
they were trendy at the time.
Yeah,
It was about 10 years ago, I suppose, or 20 years ago.
This is sort of the Parry flaming posse.
Yes, it was, yeah. So anyway, we get all that going. Now... Quite a few members of my family like the odd drink or two.
No,
and so do our friends. Unfortunately, one lady who had long hair set fire to her hair on one of the fire sticks. And I tell you what, do you know what was lucky?
What?
Do you know what she did in her spare time?
What?
She was a Turkish belly dancer.
Really?
Yeah.
What was she doing in your company?
Well, she was just...
Is this the hooker that you brought with you?
No, you idiot. She was a neighbour of my sister's who was a spare time...
Turkish belly dancer?
She was a Turkish belly dancer.
Did she come on her own?
No, she came with her husband.
No.
They lived down the road from her sister in Bournemouth.
Was he also Turkish?
No, she wasn't Turkish.
Oh.
She just practised Turkish belly dancing,
right.
See what I mean?
Right.
But the thing is, it was a good job she was, because when your hair goes on fire, you've got to try and keep it away from your skin, obviously, your body and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so by doing a bit of the old Turkish belly dancing and whipping her head around like that...
Well, didn't somebody just smother it?
Well, we did, but I mean, she managed to actually keep it away from, her skin and all that kind of thing. And what are you laughing at?
I'm just trying to imagine the scene of this
was.
family arriving.
Oh, he's panic-stricken.
Pouring out of a minivan.
We were pouring...
just wreaking havoc.
Pouring buckets of ice over her head and everything, to try and stop her from burning to death and all that kind of stuff.
Were you not, ejected from the place?
No, there's nobody to eject you. There are no guards or anything. Everybody's very well behaved.
Did you find by the end that nobody was sitting anywhere near you?
Not Not really. You know, I mean, it was just one of those things. You have those sort of accents when you go on picnics. But anyway, the point...
No, you don't.
Point of the story
Nobody
is...
goes on a picnic and suddenly spontaneously combusts.
The music was beautiful. It was fantastic.
What was it?
Well, it was a symphony orchestra.
Right, but what were they playing?
I think they were playing, on that night, ABBA.
ABBA?
I'm pretty sure they were, honestly, yeah.
Well, how's that classical?
But, well, what they did is you got a symphony orchestra playing the hits of ABBA. And
that's why you went, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And then the hits of, like, other groups that take to classical music, like, for instance...
What, the Electric Light Orchestra?
No. I'm trying to remember who else is.
Hermits.
No, it wasn't that.
The Beatles.
No, it wasn't the Beatles. It was the classic symphony orchestra playing ABBA, and they played another group's hits, and I can't remember who it was now.
You are very possibly the most...
I think it was Queen. It was Queen.
Queen.
That's right, Queen, definitely,
You are very possibly the most oik-like person I think I've ever met.
What's oik-like about that?
Well, it's just horrendous.
No, it's not. That's
story,
very cultural.
Yeah, it's not. You think it's cultural.
It is cultural.
Not cultural.
It is cultural.
How about this from Dave? Cultural. Dave says, how about Porky doing Beethoven's Fifth in Roy Hodgson's voice?
Oh, yeah. I don't think
and Ian says, only Porky, when asked to hum Vivaldi's Four Seasons, ends up humming Mozart's 40th.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's pretty similar, isn't it? It's all...
And Becky says, just joined live to hear Porky ranting on about Beethoven and Mozart. Very disturbing. Yeah. Could you please repeat who won, winners and losers?
Yeah.
I could, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I won it.
It doesn't matter.
I think we better stop now, though, because we're nearly running out of time.
Yeah, well, we're not running out of time, but, it seems to me we run out of time every time you find yourself on a sticky wicket.
How am I on a sticky wicket?
Well, you're on a sticky wicket because you are now trying to make out that because I seek cultural satisfaction in going to concerts which involve orchestras, you call me an oik.
You effectively went to a jumped-up sort of lower middle class pop goes the classics event
at Lord Mountbatten's home. At Lord Mountbatten's home,
and you think because it's at Lord Mountbatten's home, that
Broadlands
somehow makes you.
Broadlands.
It should be Broadmoor. You should have gone.
No,
somehow makes you a toff, and then you set fire to a woman's hair.
I didn't
set up some kind of bizarre kind of medieval campfire.
She had too much to drink.
Extraordinary, absolutely unbelievable.
Not at all.
This is Talk Sport. Picturing this scene in this sort of idyllic, English countryside summer's night.
That's right, yeah.
Of, you sitting there getting bladderised in a chair with your own name on it.
That's right.
A load of flames around this kind of circle of drunks from Bournemouth.
Yes.
Right? With
not drunks, people just having a drink, listening to the music.
And a woman belly dancer flailing around with her head on fire.
Well, that's afraid that it did happen, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Listening to ABBA songs being played by a symphony orchestra.
Yes.
Extraordinary. Hackman says this, Porky would struggle to get a woman to spend 6 minutes in bed with him, never mind 30 years. That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, who would want to spend 30 years in bed with the same person anyway? I mean, I can see that people who are... what's the word I'm looking for? Imbued with the philosophy of marriage would want to do that, but to a lot of people, it seems like
a life sentence.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Lisa, who was just on the show, Lisa Daly, responding to somebody who was who said that, says, "Ha ha, Porky has his charms."
Has his charms. Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed.
Entirely untouched.
Yes.
Abdul says this, absolutely shocking. The next time Porky questions MG's morality, I will lose my mind. Hashtag Chief Rogerizer.
Really?
And Steve says, crying eyes. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse. Salt gets in your lies by the platters.
No, I meant lying. I meant lying eyes, of course, didn't I?
Yeah. And then he says, I'd like to hang Porky over a bridge, but I'm not quite sure what he means by that. Let's have a Porky quiz on classical music, thinking aloud, 1 out of 10. We have to work out a Porky quiz for this week.
Well, I
think we've had one on Beethoven already, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we had one on Beethoven.
Or Mozart, one of the two.
I thought because we're heading towards the celebration of 50 years of winning the World Cup in '66, that we could perhaps do a World Cup star like Alan Ball.
Alan Ball?
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. Oh, I've got to tell you a story about my car today, actually. But
oh yes, it's about the window, is it?
Yeah, I took it in to have it looked at.
And you have it fixed?
No, he's going to fix it in the morning. Apparently.
Okay, what's wrong with it?
Well, he says it should be. He says it should be pretty straightforward. It's one of two things.
Yeah.
And it's just because the buzzing sound is still.
I told you the belt snapped, doesn't it?
Well, he didn't mention a belt.
What did he mention?
No, he just said it's obviously come out. Because what happened? I think I've worked out what happened. What happened was I closed the door while the window was down.
Right.
Right. And I think that's what somehow knocked it out of shape because maybe the door slamming with the window down.
Well, it must be a pretty trashy car if you can't close the door with the window down.
Well, no, it's not.
Without dismantling the window.
Well, I'm just thinking that's the only thing that could have possibly been the case.
Yeah, I think that's. Hey, did you see that story? No joke, an amazing story about a woman who had split up with her husband while they were on a cruise in Madeira.
Right.
And then she decided she didn't want to split up with him. Right. She went back to get onto the cruise liner with him because she said she was going to fly home.
Is this the woman that jumped into the water?
Yeah, the cruise liner had left, so she jumped in the water and swam after
65-year-old woman.
65-year-old woman. Do you know how long she was in the water for?
She was quite a long time.
4 hours.
Yeah.
And what kept her afloat was she took a handbag with her.
Right.
And the handbag acted as like a buoyancy float.
I must admit, I knew the story, but I didn't know the bit about the breakup with the other half.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
So was he on the cruise ship then?
He was on the cruise ship. What happened is...
she decided to leave him and just say, I'm staying in the port or something.
No, what...
Any port in a storm.
For some unknown reason, after 40 years of marriage, their relationship suddenly bust up when they were in Madeira.
Right.
So they both agreed to abandon the cruise and fly home.
Right.
But they didn't want to fly home on the same flight because
because there was so much rancor.
There's so much rancor and distress between the two of them. So she goes off to the airport and is about to fly home, thinking her husband had gone on a flight 2 hours earlier, but then discovers he didn't. And then further discovers, by ringing the hotel or something, that actually he's just checked out and he's gone to get back on the cruise liner.
Right.
She then dashes down to the port...
How far away was the boat at this point?
Apparently, it was like 600 or 700 yards out.
Oh, right.
So she jumps in.
What on earth did she think she was ever going to catch it?
Well, I've no idea. I don't know if she'd been drinking or...
Yeah, bladderised, maybe.
I don't know. I've no idea.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
But obviously the ship disappears into the distance. Yeah. She's then floating around and gets dragged out to sea.
Right.
And is very lucky to be rescued by a fishing boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who couldn't believe that they saw a live woman in the water.
Somewhere in the Mediterranean, wasn't it?
Madeira,
yeah. In the Atlantic, then.
Atlantic, that's right. Yeah, which is pretty cold, isn't it? Anyway, did you see our spaceman today talking down from the space station?
I did see him. I'm a bit fed up with him, actually, to be honest.
Well, I thought it was quite amazing that, these kids were all sitting asking him questions about science and all that. Yeah. And funny enough, only last week, reading my journals...
Last week?
Last week, yeah. I read about Gene Cernan, who was the last man to walk on the moon.
Gene Cernan?
Yeah. And I noticed that our spaceman today... Can you remember his name, by the way?
Tim Peake.
What's his name?
Tim
Peake, that's right, Tim Peake, yeah. Well, wasn't there a great TV story called a TV series?
There was Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks, that's right.
Not twinned, no, twin.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks,
Twin Peaks.
And there was one
difficult.
One in this country.
That was a great show, that.
What was it about?
Twin Peaks. It was about this town up in somewhere up in Alaska.
Okay, was it? Yeah,
and it was just very weird.
Got it. Yeah, because in Alaska, they're all bits of inbred and all that kind of stuff.
No,
it wasn't.
You know what I mean? No, it wasn't anything to do with that. No, not inbred at all. What are you talking about?
Well, it's a very close society, Alaska, because it gets down to -40, and you have to stay in like a log hut for 6 months at a time.
Light all year round or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, point of the story is because I'm thinking of Peak District, you see, which is in Derbyshire.
District.
Yeah, Peak District.
That wasn't a show.
No, it wasn't a show. No, it's got the name Peak in it, isn't it?
I spent a lovely night in the Peak District, actually.
Oh, I love the Peak District.
Yeah, there's a great hotel in a town that begins with B, I think. Did you only come off at Chesterfield, off the motorway?
Yeah, where the Twisted Spire is.
I think it's Buxton.
Yeah, Buxton. Yeah, Buxton's
it's a fantastic
place.
hotel.
Yeah.
And there was it was a massive snowstorm. I was interviewing some guy who lived in a big house. He was actually involved in the property around what is now Manchester City Stadium.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And he was basically saying he'd been ripped off by the council.
Yeah.
And he was one of these very wealthy guys in the north. He drove a Rolls Royce. And we drove over the tops of the peaks and everything. He went and showed me Manchester City's new stadium.
Right.
And I ended up staying the night, but there was a big power cut.
Yeah.
And I was the only person in the hotel, I think.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the dining room.
Right.
And they brought all these candles out and made me this most magnificent dinner.
Fantastic.
And wine and everything like that.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great nights. Unfortunately, I was on my own.
I got snowed in a little town in mid-Wales when I went to do a story about a mountain collapsing.
Oh, yeah.
They literally put a chain around the top of the mountain to stop the rock at the top falling into the village below.
Oh,
but I got...
what was the name of the town?
I think it was Blanfair something. It wasn't that one that's got 52 letters in it. It was It was.
So it ends up with Festiniog.
No, it wasn't Festiniog, no, but it was bland something, you know, and it's right in the middle of Snowdonia.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point of my story is, so I'm watching Tim Peake, and he says, there's absolutely no reason why space stations like this can't be a staging post to the moon.
Right.
So it only takes 4 days to get to the moon, you know? You know, like, you do.
Right.
Well, you can get to the moon quicker in a spaceship than you can get across the Atlantic in the QE2.
That's true.
Which takes 6 days.
Yeah.
So you can get there, and then I thought, well, hang on, no, I read about Gene Cernan last week.
Right.
He was the last man to step foot on the moon, and last man to step foot off the moon, if you see what I mean.
What do you mean?
Well, the last footprints on the moon dust are his.
As he got into the module.
As he got into the module and that kind of stuff. And he came to the conclusion with everybody else that, you know, it was pointless being on the moon. You know, after the first mission of getting a few moon rocks to find out how the moon was made, which is okay, there was no point in going back. There's nothing there.
Well, except there is a point in going back if you're thinking of making it into some kind of area where you base a research station or something. Can you do that with it?
What would you research?
Well, the rest of space.
Yeah, but you can do the rest of space from Earth because it's so close.
Yeah.
It's only 4 days away.
Yeah, but if you're...
So why would you want to sit on the moon?
Well, because if you're on the moon, then you've got another 4 days grace, haven't you? So you can go further out. You see what I mean? It's a bit like you saying, what's the point of being based in, I don't know, the Caribbean when it's a hurricane, when you could be doing it from New York? Yes, but it's not the same, is it?
Well, the only thing is, he told one kid, because I watched a bit of it today,
Did you?
And the kid was asked, how many galaxies are there? He said over 1 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, space is infinite.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of space.
But you might as well get closer to it, though, no?
Well, you're not that closer to it. If there's 1 billion galaxies and you can travel like 10 light years and still not get to the end of, space, then being 4 days closer...
Well, what about colonising the moon and putting people up there to live?
Well, how would you do that? There's no oxygen.
Well, because you would create a place for them to live. I mean, you can create indoor
but
living centres.
Why? There's no light. There's no oxygen.
Because it might be worthwhile.
You can't go on holiday with a place with a swimming pool on the moon.
How can there not be light on it? What do you think you see when you see the moon in the sky? What do you see?
Yeah, but there's not natural daylight.
Of course there is. What do you see?
What?
What do you think you see when you look up into the sky and you see the moon?
You see...
Does the moon have its own light source?
Well, no. That's a reflection from the sun.
Right. And so if you were standing on the surface of the moon while the sun was shining on it, what do you think it would be, light or dark?
Well, all the pictures we've ever had from the moon are dark.
Dark?
There have never been any pictures of light from the moon.
Of course there's light.
No, there haven't, no. All the pictures, most of the moon is the dark side of the moon.
No, that's the dark side.
No, that's
the opposite side of the light side.
No, it's not. There's no light side of the moon.
What? So all of it's the dark side.
Well, you show me a picture.
Why is it called a side then?
You show me a picture from
Why is it just called the dark moon?
Look, I happen to have a picture here of Mr. Kernan, the last man on the moon. It's dark.
He's standing in the light.
No, it's dark.
Well, how come you can see him then?
No, it's only dark.
If it was dark, you wouldn't be able to see him.
No, there's no natural light on the moon. It's all dark, I'm telling you.
Well, the sun shines on the moon.
It doesn't shine properly on the moon like it shines on the Earth.
What do you mean it doesn't shine properly?
Well, because it doesn't. And
how can you see the guy in the picture if it's not light?
It's not pitch black dark, but it's not light. Okay,
it's not even inky black.
No, it's not inky black. No. It's couldn't live in it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. Anyway, Kernan says it's a waste of time. He also says, actually, I remember reading
I'm getting a bit fed up of seeing Tim Peake doing all these somersaults and little experiments.
And talking to people upside down.
He looks like the kind of guy that if you were stuck on a space station with him, you'd throttle him after about 10 minutes.
Is he the only man up there on his own?
No, there's other people.
Unless
maybe they've all just thrown themselves off it because he's so annoying.
No, maybe, yeah. But old Kernan, the guy I'm telling you about...
Why do you keep talking about him? Is he still alive?
No, he wrote a book, which I'm telling you about. I kind of saw it last week. He said the other thing it did is it broke up almost every astronaut's marriage.
I'm sure.
Because it was such a perilous job. And,
Well, that's because they go up to space and people like you are sniffing around their wives.
No, don't be ridiculous.
Yes, that's true.
What a horrible expression. What a horrible, disgusting expression.
Why is it disgusting?
Because, sniffing around makes me sound like some sort of rabid dog, on the prowl. I mean, it's disgusting.
Well, that's what happens, isn't it?
Disgusting. I'm not going to discuss this.
Okay. I've got some bad news about rabbits, by the way, coming up in a minute. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
That hole, get the sun. When at last the world
genius selections going on tonight, getting Rabbits and Dark Side of the Moon in.
Is that right? Yeah. What was that?
What
was that song?
This is Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. Which one's this?
It's from Dark Side of the Moon, the album. Have you not got that?
It's one album I am determined to listen to.
You've never heard it?
I don't think I've ever heard it, no.
Really?
No, I don't think I have.
And you've never seen Pink Floyd live, obviously?
No, I haven't, no. But their records are pretty good, yeah?
They certainly are.
Yeah, exactly,
And they're very good live, actually. Much better than Rolling Stones.
Yeah, really,
Now, how about this? After your treaties and pleading on behalf of the rabbit population of this country, how about this story? Hundreds of hunters have slaughtered thousands of rabbits in New Zealand as part of an annual 24-hour Easter shooting bonanza to curb the introduced species.
Yeah.
So they actually, not only do they not worry about saving rabbits, they actually go out every single year around about Easter. 27 teams, 12 hunters each, give themselves names like Happy Hopper and Anti-Pestos.
It's disgusting.
Because rabbits are a pest in New Zealand, right?
Well, I understand.
And so what they do is they just shoot 10,000 of them over the course of a weekend.
I understand there has to be some culling. I haven't got a problem with that, because if they're running wild and all that kind of stuff. But it's the way you do it and all that kind of stuff. And
the winning team called Down South shot 889.
Yeah, but you see, what I really don't like is the idea that you celebrate killing wild animals and you make fun of it and you all.
I'm not making fun of it. I'm just pointing this out.
Yeah, but you all jolly it up and say, no, I'm not saying you make fun of it. These guys go around with their guns, calling themselves funny names. Listen, I want to give some praise to a politician for the first time in my life.
Really?
Okay,
Blimey.
Listen to this. This is great.
You had a knock on the head.
Well, this is great news. Ministers are to dedicate a, quotes, derisory sum to improve cycling and pedestrian provision around Britain. Campaigners have said, abandoning the core demand of the Bring Back Cycling campaign.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is brilliant. You and I go on every night about super cycle highways in London. We've told our millions of listeners it's coming to a town near you very soon.
Yes.
It's coming to your town, it's coming to your city. Apparently, the government have decided they're going to pull the plug on the funding for it.
Really?
The Department of Transport is to release its long-awaited cycling and walking investment strategy, setting out an aim to double the number of journeys made by bike, cut deaths on the road, and increase the number of children walking to school. The strategy, prompted by the city's Fit for Cycling campaign, and all that. However, it goes on that the recommended cycle safety budget of about £450 million a year.
An extraordinary amount of money.
Yeah, for England, outside of London, is only between 3 and 4% of the annual transport budget of £10 per head a year. Basically, what they're saying is the governor pulled the plug on the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
It says it pledges a total of £300 million over 5 years, which is less than 14% of the recommended amount, or only £1.39 per capita instead of £10 per head.
Okay,
I'm delighted.
Well, maybe all your campaigning is finally paid off in some way, shape, or form.
I think it is paying off. I think people are becoming aware that we waste horrendous amounts of money and rack up huge inconveniences by supporting the cycling lobby.
No.
It's way out of proportion to what they are and what they contribute to the economy.
Okay.
Chris Boardman, the former Olympic champion, has accused David Cameron, who obviously is the Prime Minister, of reneging on his promise made in 2013 to launch a cycling revolution for commuters. Mr. Boardman says the truth is that without sustained funding, this strategy won't be worth the paper it's written on. Well, Mr. Boardman, can I say hooray?
Yeah. Well,
hooray!
the thing about Mr. Boardman as
hooray!
well is that, like many of these former cyclists, he has a cycling manufacturing company. So the more cyclists there are,
Has he?
And Boardman,
how do you know that?
Well, because Boardman cycles are very, very expensive.
Is that right?
I think they cost about $2,000 a pop.
Oh, I see.
And you see them occasionally on the streets. But I mean, so obviously for somebody like him, he has what you might loosely describe as an ulterior motive. Because the more people that cycle, the more people are going to buy his bikes.
Well, yeah, absolutely right.
Now, I've got a little correction for you here.
Oh, yes, go on.
Gene Kernan, you were talking about.
Yes.
Apparently it's pronounced Cernan.
OK, I knew that.
Well, why did you say Kernan?
No, I can pronounce it Cernan to start off with, and then you tried to correct me, so, All
right.
I thought I'll go with
How about
the
this
flow.
from Ian? He says, you can always rely on Porky to offend a massive group of people.
Yes.
People in Alaska are inbred.
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
What a legend.
I didn't mean that. What I meant was a lot of them live in sort of remote places and they're frozen in for months at a time. Remember the film, the fourth Bourne film, the one that didn't star Jason...
well, it starred Jason Bourne, but it starred another guy as him.
what's the name of that? Matt Damon. Didn't star Matt Damon.
No.
Eh?
No.
Haven't you seen it?
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah, I said, do you remember the fourth
Bourne
film?
I said I remembered it, yeah.
So what are you saying no for?
I didn't say no.
You did. You said no.
No, because you said the one that didn't star Jason Bourne.
Oh, yeah.
But it did star Jason Bourne because it was a Bourne film.
Matt Damon.
It just didn't star Matt Damon as Jason Bourne.
That started off in Alaska, didn't it?
Did it?
Yeah.
What, the one with the wolf?
Yeah.
Was that in Alaska?
Yeah. One of the agents was told to just go and set up camp in Alaska because something big was going to be happening.
Isn't he a British guy, the guy that played him?
He sounded British. British, yeah. And, of course, they got him by drones, didn't they?
Yes.
And they decided to wipe out the whole of that force. And all they did was send a drone with a missile and blew him up.
Yeah.
Except that...
But it hit the wolf.
No. They blew up the guy that Matt Bourne had gone to see to rendezvous with him.
Bourne?
Matt Damon. No, sorry, Jason Bourne. They blew up the guy that Jason Bourne had gone to see.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But Jason Bourne himself was too clever to be caught out, so he took his chip out of his body, the chip that the CIA had put in his body to locate him anywhere in the world, any time, and put it in the wolf. Yeah. And then when the drone came and released its missile, it hit the wolf.
Yeah, it did.
That was pretty clever, that.
Yeah.
No, it was. Now then, on the bike scene, right?
Yeah. What's going on about that?
Well, it is very, very good news. It says here. What does it say here? It says. There's all these people whinging and moaning, saying, you've got to give more money to bikes. Yeah. I'm just delighted that it's gone into reverse. Yeah. Very, very pleased indeed. And I hope that that's going to be a blueprint for...
It won't be, because don't worry, because they've got the annual bike ride down at Box Hill, haven't they, every summer? In August, I think it is, yeah.
Box Hill's very near me.
No, I know it is. That's why I'm assuming you would know about it.
There's a road there called the Zigzag.
Yeah, well, it starts in London and it goes all the way down there. It's like the same track they use for the Olympic cycling.
Did you see, by the way, because the architect of the Supercycle Highway in this town that we're sitting in now, London, is Boris Johnson.
This town?
Yeah, this city.
This city?
Yeah, it's Boris Johnson. Did you see the piece that Matthew Parris, who was a former MP,
yes,
and well-known sort of writer, he describes himself as a centre-right economist, right, wrote a piece about
Boris...
He
was great Thatcherite, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Wrote a piece about Boris Johnson in last Saturday's Times, which so laid into Boris Johnson, it was unbelievable.
Right. Is that why Petronella Wyatt wrote that kind of soft piece?
She may have done, I don't know. Right, now then, what I want to tell you about, man, is the situation involving second homes.
Yes.
Right?
I actually heard somebody earlier on the radio talking about how people who had buy-to-let properties should be banned from having them.
Well, did that come from St Ives in Cornwall?
No.
Cornish Seaside Resort is voting to stop second homes being built after it emerged that they now make up 1/4 of all the properties in the town.
But doesn't that contribute to the economy of Cornwall?
Well, I think it would. It says a referendum's being held next month at St Ives for the town's 12,000 residents. 12,000, that's all the people are in St Ives, right? To decide whether they agree to a ban on building any housing other than principal homes. Principal being defined by homes for local people.
But how can you ban people from buying homes that end up being let out? Because presumably, if you don't live in a sort of communist state, and somebody buys a house and they for some reason have to move because of work and they have to rent out the house, what are you going to do? Block the guy up?
Totally agree. And you see, this is what makes me laugh. It says they're going to pass local bylaws, right, that state that at least half of new build homes in St Ives should be affordable.
Yeah.
Well, that's ludicrous because the price of the property in St Ives has now gone so high.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of people from London have gone down and lived and bought them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That if you want to build affordable, you'd have to build like bed sits because that's all local people can afford anymore.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ludicrous. And you're absolutely right in what you just said. I mean, OK, so people buy second homes down there and they occupy them maybe 2 days a week or maybe even 4 days a month, because it's a long way, Cornwall. Tell you who's got one down there, Richard and Judy.
Right.
They're always writing about getting on the train going down to Cornwall. In fact, they got very upset when they ditched the dining car on the train down to Cornwall.
Did you see that story about all the trouble on the train going down to Cornwall at the weekend? There was apparently
it was packed.
A packed train.
And they took all the carriages off.
Yeah, but people were refusing to get off the train.
They were indeed,
even though they were told that they were a safety hazard and all that.
They were. But the point I'm making is that just like when I go to Gosport, I spend money in the local pubs and local restaurants.
And you pay council tax.
Pay council tax.
Whether you live in there or not.
Funny enough, I just paid that this week. You're absolutely right, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, actually, that reminds me, I've got to pay mine as well.
Yeah, you've got to.
Because you don't pay it for a month, do you? They give you like a month's grace, I think. Or 2. I think it's 2 months.
The bill came in, I paid it.
Well, you pay it all at once?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you?
Yeah.
I see. I wouldn't do that. I give it to them on a monthly basis.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. But your situation might change.
Well, what if you get run over or something by a car and you die? Yeah, you paid your council tax for a year.
Yeah, but I can't be bothered with all the paperwork of paying it monthly, so I just pay it. So anyway, what I'm saying is,
all you do is paperwork.
What?
All you do is paperwork.
Well, I do a lot of paperwork. You're absolutely right.
So if you haven't got any council tax paperwork to worry about, what other paperwork have you got?
Oh, well, for instance, the paperwork today was on deciding how we're going to dispute the seats in Manchester when we get to the dance house.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is a week on Saturday, by the way.
It is.
We've put 2 new rows of seats in at the back of the theatre, which is not that far from the stage, by the way, because it's a beautifully shaped
haven't they
theatre.
also been messing about with the seats in the middle as well?
Well, unfortunately, we allocated 8 seats for a space for a sound deck in the middle of the floor.
I don't know why you told them to do that.
I didn't tell them to do it.
Well, why did they do it then?
I don't know. They thought it was necessary, but it's not, so we've had them taken out.
Yeah, good.
So there are now another 8 seats in the middle there.
Oh, okay.
Which are close to the stage, so that's not a problem.
Excellent.
But, no, the people of St Ives are split on this one.
Yeah.
But Exeter University specialist Dr. Jenny Barnett, who studies the impact of second homes on communities in Devon and Cornwall, says second homes do bring benefits. Owners have a high level of spending.
Well, I think it's like everything else in this particular country of ours.
Yeah.
There has been a bit of a mad kind of second home bonanza.
Yes, there
which has happened, and maybe they should have not allowed that to happen quite as much as they did. But you can't just ban people from having second homes or investing in property to let it out.
No.
You know, I just think that's ridiculous.
I totally agree. Hey, I tell you what somebody told me. Do you know the sales of blue cars in Leicester have soared by 300% since the new year? Yes,
really?
Because it was the local team are doing so well.
Isn't that funny?
Everybody's buying blue cars.
How
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Somebody tweeted us that if they win the league, we have to go to Leicester and do a show. You happy to do that?
Well, we're going to rugby.
Yeah.
Which is very close to Leicester.
Yeah, but it's not Leicester, is it?
No, it's not Leicester, no. But I mean,
so many here, I think we'll have to try and rush through them as quickly as possible.
Let's do that.
Here's the first one. It's from, where are we? Pete.
Right.
Sorry, not Pete. No, I want to start with Rosie. My husband has to replace his Mercedes with another company car. What new model of car should he choose?
Well, it depends how much he's going to spend on the car. Now, I have become a Merc advocate. I've got a 3.5 litre 2-door Merc Sports Coupe. It's a brilliant car. I love it to bits. The best car I've ever had. However, if you want to change, you can go to a Jag. Jags are wonderful cars. I had 3 Jags before I had this one. In fact, I had 4, actually, but 3 of the sort of modern version, the XF. They are brilliant cars, give you a great feel-good factor. But at the end of the day, there are so many cars out there now to choose from. What you've got to do, you've got to take a test drive. And you have to take the test drive to make sure you feel comfortable in that car. If you feel big in the driving seat of your car, that is the car for you.
OK, here's one from Paul, who says, Porky, you're on a desert island, 1 food, 1 drink and 1 song for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
What would it all be?
The song would be Strawberry Fields Forever. No surprise in that one. The drink would be endless supply of Pinot Grigio, so we'd call it the everlasting bottle of Pinot Grigio. And the food, if there was only one food I could have, and it would have to last me forever, that would then have to be what I call the traditional Sunday roast, OK, which would repeat itself over and over again
every day
on my everlasting plate. Well, if I could only have one food, that's what I'd have.
Oh, I thought you had lean
and
ham.
It would be no.
You're not going to live very long. You don't need water either.
It would be roast beef and cabbage, and carrots,
and
roast potatoes.
Mark says
parsnips, mushrooms.
All right, that's enough. This is on Facebook. Mark says, what ambitions do you hope to fulfil in the coming month?
I have fulfilled every ambition in life that I first wanted to fulfil. There is nothing left in life that I have to fulfil. However, I suppose the ambition business-wise now is to make a total success of the 2 mics, because myself and my colleague here, Mike Graham, started on this venture some 2 years ago, wondering where we would get to by doing a small stage show, and we are now in the throes of not just this year's tour, but one for next year, which means we'll be doing a show every night. And above that, more recording and broadcasting possibilities.
Thank you very much. What about this one from Tex? Porky, what is the best and worst thing about the internet? That's an interesting one.
Well, I'm not an expert in the internet, as you know. The best thing about it is instant access to information. I think the worst thing about it is having a distributive factor. In the past, I've been guilty, as have many people, of suddenly spreading information or sharing information before I've thought properly, and it can get you into problems because And everybody does it. Believe me, everybody I know has regretted something they've sent out. So instant communication, not necessarily a good thing. Instant access to information, very good thing.
Mark says this, Porky, I have an issue with my neighbours on one side. They are deaf and the volume of their TV is always very loud. We have tried talking to them about it, but it is doing no good. How do I resolve this?
It's a big problem because if you've got a nuisance neighbour, it can blight your life, literally. The problem is that if they're deaf, they don't know the damage they're causing.
I think he must mean they're hard of hearing.
Yeah, hard of hearing, something like that. But the problem is that it may not be too bad during the day if they're elderly people or something like that and you're out all day. If you come home at night, you want to get an early night, something like that, and the television's blasting through the wall, it's not good. What you have to do is you try the peaceful method first. And by that, I mean you go to them, you explain, and you try and suggest to them that the solution is for you to buy them 2 sets of headphones. You could even buy them very expensive headphones like the ones that I have here in the studio I'm wearing now, which are called, of course, what are they called? Sennheiser.
And you get a free faux leather bag as well.
And you get a free real leather bag. And you could tell them they can sit in front of their telly, plug in their headphones and receive high-quality audio straight into their ears rather than having to blast it out into the atmosphere.
OK. Wayne says this, Porky, have you ever met anyone and immediately thought this person's going places before they were either famous or at the top of their chosen profession?
I met loads of people who I predicted would be big. One of them was Ollie Murs. Met him when he was, just really almost like a busker or something like that.
The one who said I had the best voice at Talk Sport.
He said what?
He said I had the best voice at Talk Sport. I won the breakfast X Factor competition. Don't you remember?
No.
Yeah, I did.
No, I don't. No.
Ollie Moyes was the judge.
Was he?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that. No. But anyway, I met him a long time before he became famous. And over the years before that, many people. I mean, for instance, probably my best claim to fame was I met Bill Clinton, who was governor of Arkansas, who'd announced he was running for president. I went down to see him in Little Rock, and I realised immediately this guy was going to be a big threat to George H.
By then
Bush.
He'd already got the nomination.
Sorry?
He'd already got the nomination.
No, he hadn't, no. And he certainly didn't have the nomination as president. This was when he was running.
Yeah.
And I have to say to you, I knew then this guy was quite an amazing communicator, and I actually rang the Daily Express in London. I said, I've just met the next president of the United States of America, and the so-called expert, John Ellison, who said he was, an international expert
on foreign
he was something like assistant head of foreign affairs or something. Yeah. He said, I'll check it out. Came back to me 5 minutes later and said, no, this man's got no chance. I've spoken to him. Nobody in America's ever heard of him. Don't be so ridiculous. I spotted Clinton first.
Really? OK. Lee says, Grand National 2 Mike's show day, April the 9th. Should I watch it in Manchester or where I live in Glossop? Could be cutting it fine if I watch it in Glossop for the show, but if I went early to Manchester, I'll be bladderated in the audience.
Get over to Manchester, and I'll tell you why, because it works for everybody. I'm going to get up there for mid-afternoon, because this year, the Grand National is not taking place until 5:15. The reason being that they think we'll get a bigger TV audience, OK? It's normally run at 4:15. Now, that means by the time the race is over at 6 o'clock, and, all the paraphernalia that follows the Grand National is underway, you've only got 2 hours then until we walk on stage at the dance house at 8 o'clock that night, because the show is scheduled for 8 o'clock.
I think it is an 8
we
o'clock
normally, by the way, kick off 7:30, but it's scheduled for 8 because there's so much going on in Manchester that night to give people time to get there.
All right. Here's one from Paul. Porky, the missus can only get a holiday from work at the same time that I'm away on a lad's stag do.
Right.
She wants me to cancel the stag and go away with her.
Yes.
I'd rather do the stag, but I know it's going to cause eruptions. What would you do?
Well, it depends what the wife is going to do if you're not there. If she's going to take her revenge and go off on some sort of hen party, with her friends, single friends, I assume, then you could have a troublesome weekend ahead because you may be wondering whether your wife is going to be entirely... what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm not sure.
Entirely well behaved in her sort of.
Do you mean is she going to get Rogerised by somebody else?
Well, not Rogerised, but you know what it's like.
Romanced.
Yes, exactly. Attractive women are always subject to inquiries by men.
He doesn't say how attractive she is.
Well, I'm sure she's very attractive because otherwise you wouldn't be worrying about her. If I were you, mate, I wouldn't call off your stag night. Except the only thing I would say is I think stag nights are boring. I've never been one in my life. I don't understand the attraction of 8 guys getting together and behaving like schoolboys. If I want to drink with a mate of mine, I can hopefully do it most nights of the week. So I wouldn't go away on a special one just to do that.
A quick, simple question from Ian. It says for the Portmaster. I will be in the UK this coming October. I'll be driving from London to St Austell in Cornwall. Should I go via the M4, M5 route or take the A303? Or can you suggest another route?
No, I'd take the M4, M5 route. I know the A303 one, that goes down through Wiltshire.
Yeah.
And then on to Exeter.
You see Stonehenge.
Yeah, Stonehenge, and then on to Exeter. But it's a much slower route. I mean, take the M4, M5. It's a hopeless route down into the West Country. The M5 ends at Exeter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then beyond there. There's
no motorway south of that.
No motorway south of it. The motorways in this country are disgusting. There is no real motorway down to Dover, believe it or not, which is our main port. The motorway ends at Folkestone, and beyond that, there's just a dual carriageway down to Dover. And even the road down to Folkestone, which is the M20,
it is.
Right, is actually just a bypass around a couple of towns in Kent. It's a disgrace, the whole thing.
It is ridiculous. Here's one from Ray. Animal question. Porky, I've got a pigeon living on my windowsill. I've tried catching it, but it flies off. It only stays there during the night and has now been with us for 3 weeks. How would you stop it staying?
Well, unless it's causing you a problem, I don't understand why you want to get rid of it.
Well, it can be a bit messy, pigeons.
Well, pigeons can be messy, but you can sort of wipe up after that. I agree.
You don't want to be cleaning your windowsill from all that.
Well, I totally agree with that, and it can be a problem. The point is, I think it's rather nice to see wildlife up close. Now, for instance, my housekeeping lady is renovating my garden next weekend to make it spick and
garden?
My roof garden.
Yeah, we've got
to make it spick and span for spring. And for the first time this year, I've decided to include like these bird things that birds can peck at, like bird food. But the only problem with those is a lot of seagulls around where I live, and I don't want them to be attracted into the garden, so I've got to work a strategy. But basically, I would say it's better to encourage birds to come into your garden. It does fulfil your life.
I think you could smear some kind of oil out there to keep the seagulls away.
Or actually, I'll tell you what else you can get to keep them away. You can get these like these prickly things that you put on your windowsill, and they can't stand on it then.
Yeah, well, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, it is a bit.
Roger says, why did you just tell us the end to Born Identity 4? I haven't seen it yet.
The end to Born 4 is, well, it's quite an involved film. There's a very attractive... He's not
asking for you to tell him the end.
No.
Why have you already told him the end?
No, I haven't. No, there's a very attractive woman scientist who survives a massacre in a laboratory, but then the CIA spooks turn up and they want to kill her as well because of what she witnessed. So she flees to Thailand with old Bourne, and they eventually get the blues and the red pills which he needs.
I think you've got it mixed up with the other Bourne film.
No, I haven't. No.
That's the one in Thailand.
No, I haven't. Honestly.
Right.
Honestly. Anyway.
How about this? Porky, I'm from Jack. I've got a problem with my boss. He's very slow to pay me and doesn't pay me even when I pull him up on it, and he says he will. Shall I stick it out for the next couple of months when I will be leaving anyway, or tell him to swivel now?
No, I wouldn't tell him to swivel. I'd go and threaten him. I'd say, look, if you don't pay me, pal, there'll be consequences. Consequences is always a good word because it doesn't mean you're threatening somebody. It means that what you're saying is there will be consequences of your refusal to pay me. Now, then he's going to think, hang on, is this guy a psycho? Is he going to beat me up? Is this guy going to go to the small claims court and sue me? Is this guy going to put pressure on me in some other way? Is he going to reveal to my wife that, I'm a grubby little sort of, perv or something like that?
Right.
Just say there will be consequences and say it with a steely, will in your voice, and I believe you'll get action.
OK. Thomas says, my girlfriend's 8 weeks from giving birth. How close to the date should I give up beer so I'm able to react?
I'd give it up now. Why not give it up now? It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, or twice or 3 times in a lifetime thing. I'd give it up now. Why do you want to be bladderated when your wife's carrying a child?
All right.
And I hope you weren't bladderated when you conceived the child, because one thing most people don't know is that if you're an inherent drunk and you conceive a child, your child will be a deadhead. It'll be thicker than a normal child because you will be, it's absolutely true. You're bladderated when you conceive a child. It means that the bladderation effects that get into your body go all the way down to your tests and into your sperm and then make your kid a thick kid.
Thank you. Andrew from Aberdeen, what was the greatest comeback? Germany 2, England 3, or Porky recovering from being 2/3 dead?
Well, my comeback is legendary in terms of heart surgery and that kind of stuff,
well, the German scientists are fascinated.
German scientists were fascinated with me and all that kind of stuff, yeah. And actually, that's coming up again quite soon, so I'll give you a progress report on it. The answer to the Germany thing is, of course, it was a great comeback, but we are forgetting, and I'm taking nothing away from my country. I'm very proud of my country. I love England. But it was a friendly, and the Germans didn't take it as seriously. They were taking a group game, and there'll be a totally different prospect at Euro 16.
All right. Final question. We all know that Porky's a big fan of Theo Walcott, says Eklim, but does he still think he should go to the Euros in the summer?
Oh, I definitely think, of course, that Theo should go. I definitely think he should be a member of the squad. He's the fastest footballer in England. He's an incredibly talented footballer who I think's been held back by various managers, Arsene Wenger being the main one, not allowing him his freedom to run and to play maybe down the middle. You've got to take him. Whether or not he will start with all the available talent which is around now is another question.
Well, he hasn't really proven his worth this season, has he?
Well, I don't think that's fair, really. I mean, he's not really had that many opportunities. He's a bit disappointed that he hasn't started more games.
Yeah, I know, but there's a reason for that.
That's down to Arsene Wenger. Well,
I
think it's ridiculous. I think he's a great footballer, and I think he should have been given a lot more opportunities.
Okay. That was Ask Porky. We'll have a load more same time next week, of course. Tomorrow night is Porky Vision, which no doubt will include some comeback on the old Night Manager and many other shows as well. And the Porky Quiz, we still haven't worked out what it's going to be. No. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Why are you playing this?
Well, that was a very famous programme. It used to appear every Sunday evening.
It's Ski Sunday, wasn't it?
Ski Sunday, that's right, yeah. Because, you see, I'm one of my other campaigns, which has been ongoing.
What's about ski? Can you ski?
Not very well. I haven't done it since I was 15.
When you say not very well,
yes.
Do you mean you can't ski?
No, I can ski, but I haven't
When did you ever go skiing?
I went skiing with the school, I've told you.
Did you?
Just on two
Where'd you go?
Went to Wengenalp in Switzerland, which is up the mountain from Interlaken.
Is it?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So what level of skiing would you say you managed to get to?
Good.
Good. Proficient.
Yes.
Black runs?
No.
Green runs?
No. Black runs are on ice, aren't they?
No. They're just the most difficult.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah.
Well, in fact, some places have double black runs.
Used to go to Wengenalp and Clanscheidegg.
Clanscheidegg,
yeah. That was up the mountain.
Look it up.
And by the way, there's a monastery up there, and in the evening, you used to hear the monks sing in the monastery. It used to echo through the mountains. Oh, yeah. It was quite amazing.
What do they sing?
Well, I don't know what they
when
sang,
I'm 64.
do I?
No,
What's
it
don't
called,
be
this place?
Ridiculous.
Clan what?
Clanscheidegg.
Sounds like somewhere in Wales.
No, Klan.
Yeah.
It's the first word, and the second word was Scheidegg. Shideg. But the main base was a place called Wengenalp, which was Wenger Wengenalp, N-A-L-P.
Did you mean Clanscheidegg?
Yeah, Clanscheidegg.
Oh, mountain pass.
Yeah, there you go. See,
it's a mountain pass.
Yeah.
It's not a ski resort.
Well, that's where we went and we stayed. So Now listen, my campaign
between the Eiger and the Lauberhorn.
That's
peaks,
right. It was, yeah.
The Bernese Oberland.
Oh yes, it was in the shadow of the Eiger.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, no. I know a lot about the Eiger. I learned it.
But it's not a ski resort though.
Well, it is because I skied there.
Did you?
Yeah. So it must
you
be.
Got any pictures?
No, of course I haven't got any pictures.
Why
There were
not?
mobile phones in those days.
I got pictures of me skiing when I was 11.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
You know, did you not have a camera that you could take pictures on? You took the film to the developers and you had your summer holiday pictures?
No.
Have you got no pictures at all?
No, I haven't.
Of when you were 15?
Well, not when I was skiing, no.
Why not?
Well, you can't carry a camera when you're skiing.
Why not?
Because, you have to hold your ski sticks.
Right. You put it round your neck on a.
Well, I never thought about it. It never occurred to me.
No, okay.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about skiing. I want to talk about...
I thought that's why we were playing the music.
We're playing the music to indicate we're talking about Sunday.
Oh.
Because I am against the extension...
Is that the best song you could come up with for Sunday?
Yes.
What about Sunday morning?
No, there's Sunday,
by the Velvet Underground.
Sunday.
Yeah, you could have had that.
Well, who sang that?
Had Sunday morning by the Velvet Underground.
Makes me... What about Saturday night, Sunday morning? Have you ever seen that film?
Yes. But
brilliant, gritty song about the working class in Britain and how after... A gritty film, yeah. About how after the Second World War, as Britain was emerging into a new era, of consumerism and all that...
You've never had it so good.
Yeah, everybody in the working class terraced houses they lived in were Rogerising each other. And
it was the beginning of the permissive society.
Yes, that's right, surreptitiously.
Yeah.
Now,
we could have had Sunday Bloody Sunday as well by you too.
Yeah, but that was a bit political, I'm afraid.
It was a bit, yeah.
It wasn't about Sunday
shopping.
shopping.
It was about as relevant as Ski Sunday.
Well, no. This is about Sunday shopping. Now, I do not believe that they should expand in any way the Sunday shopping hours.
Why not?
I want Sunday to be as special as it possibly can be.
Why?
Well, when I was a kid, nothing happened on the Sunday, and
you
that was good.
last Sunday.
Hey?
You worked last Sunday.
I know I worked last Sunday because you do now, but
for example, you finish at 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
On Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
Every supermarket in the land is closed at 4 o'clock.
Good.
So if you'd wanted to pick up some lean ham on the way home,
yes,
you would have been able to do it.
No, of course you can, because there's loads of Tesco Expresses and Sainsbury's and all that.
No, not in every part of the country there is.
Well, there is where I live, so that's all I care about.
Yeah, but that's because you're inevitably selfish about it.
No, I'm not. No, the other thing is, do your shopping in the morning if you're working in the afternoon. That's easy. It's no problem at all. Now, the other thing I'm going to say to you is that some economists are making the argument, longer Sunday shopping hours will boost the economy because there'll be more money in the economy. That's rubbish.
Right.
People don't suddenly have more money because the shops are open longer. They don't.
What do you mean?
What they do is they just spend it at a different time.
Well, I mean, people now spend more money than they've ever spent in places like supermarkets and in, food shops because the kind of food that we can now buy was never available. I mean, you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
When we were growing up as kids,
I
remember going to the first ever supermarket in Finchley Road in North London, which was a Sainsbury's.
Right, okay.
And it was now, it was smaller than most of what you see like Tesco Expresses are now.
Yes.
And they didn't sell anything like the kind of array
of food.
Of
course not.
I went to Borough Market last Friday.
Yes.
And the amount of food that you could buy there that you could never buy years and years ago is ridiculous.
But what I'm saying to you is,
What are you saying?
What I'm saying to you is that if the shops are open as they are now, 10 till 4, which I think is fine for a Sunday, I don't know open any longer. If they suddenly open from
Sunday's just like any other day,
8 until 8, right? They're not going to take more money. They're not going to take more money. And if they do, it means they'll take less money on Saturday and less money on Monday.
Well, I'm sure that's the only reason that is the case. I mean, I'm sure if they thought they could take more money, they would be lobbying the government like Billy-O to make sure that they could actually be open for longer hours.
Yeah, but I don't want longer hours on a Sunday. I want Sunday to still be a bit special. I mean, for instance...
but it isn't special.
For instance...
It's not. We play football on a Sunday now. Sporting events take place on a Sunday. All sorts of things happen on a Sunday.
Yes.
Aside from kids going to school and MPs actually sitting in the House of Commons. That's about the only two things that don't happen.
The idea of allowing pubs to open at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, I think is barbaric.
Well, I don't think pubs should be open in the morning anyway.
I think it's outrageous.
But you're always in the pubs in the morning, though. What do you mean it's outrageous?
I sometimes go to a pub in the morning if I fancy having breakfast there.
I think it's wrong that pubs are open as early as they are generally.
Well, I don't mind that because I like a free society, and people do use them on a cafe basis.
You like a free society, but you want to tell shops how long they can stay open.
Yeah, I do, because I think...
isn't that a bit hypocritical?
We are still a Christian country.
No, we're not.
Oh, we are.
Rubbish.
Oh, of course we are.
No, not
true.
true.
What do you think we're sort of country?
I don't think we are. I think we're an agnostic country, actually.
Well, we're not. We're certainly not agnostic.
I think we're agnostic.
I thought you were going to say we're a diverse country. Yeah, we are diverse.
Well, we are diverse, but I think by and large there is no obvious religious following by the majority of the people in this country.
The majority of the people in this country, and this is an absolute statement of fact, follow the principles of Christianity.
No, they don't.
They do. The vast
majority are agnostics, which means that they might have some kind of vague belief in something, but they're not actually that bothered.
No, you don't understand. If you live the life where, you do not commit adultery, you do not
Well, you just read out a statistic that said 65% of men will commit adultery.
Hang on, you do not
65%.
You do not steal, you do not murder, you look after your neighbour, you look after your mother and father.
Stealing and murdering against the law.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Adultery isn't.
That makes us a Christian country.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, it does.
There's plenty of countries in the world where stealing's illegal in Saudi Arabia. That's not a Christian country.
Yeah, I know.
And so is murder.
Yeah, I know all that.
Yeah, but you're talking nonsense.
No, we live by Christian principles.
No, we don't.
We do. We don't behead people.
So?
In non-Christian countries, they behead people.
Well, yeah, but in America, which you would say is a Christian country, they execute people.
Yes, they do. Well, execution is allowed within Christianity.
As long as you don't behead them.
Well, beheading is we believe it to be medieval, and chopping people's hands off and that sort of thing. So we live in a Christian country.
And they used to behead people in this country anyway.
And therefore, we should have a bit more...
And Berlin was beheaded.
We should have a bit more peace and, as I said, medieval. We should have a bit more peace and quiet in the country. So I want less activities on Monday.
Maybe you should stop working on a Sunday so people don't have to listen to you.
Well, no. The point is that the leisure industry can be exempted because
we're out of time, by the way.
What you do don't worry about time.
No,
what you do in the leisure industry is provide succour and comfort to others. So we have a responsibility.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for that sermon.
Yeah,
this is from the man who works on Sunday with Porky Vision. We need to figure out a Porky quiz. I don't think Alan Ball's a suitable. Well, I
thought it was,
matter.
but
well, we could do Alan Ball, but I mean, it's he's an iconic footballer.
What about doing the boys of '66?
The boys of '66, what in general? What the World Cup winning England team?
Yeah, or is that too sort of?
I guess we could do that.
Maybe that should be a bit nearer the date when we celebrate it.
Maybe
okay?
It should be.
So we think of something else.
Well, we need to think about something else in the next minute because the independent quizmasters need to know what to do.
Yeah, well,
they don't come up with these questions.
Nelson.
Yeah, we've done Napoleon, we've done Nelson. I think we've done Wellington.
I think
we've done Churchill.
Right. Okay. I tell you what we could do. What about the Crimean War?
The Crimean War?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was brought to an end on this day in 1867.
Which day?
This day.
What, today? The 30th of March?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The Crimean War.
Crimean War, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that'll be a very, very challenging one, I think, for the quizmasters because it's quite sort of historical and quite.
I know all about the Crimean War.
Do you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well,
tell you what else happened on this day, by the way.
We haven't got time.
2 other things.
Yeah. Got 2 seconds.
Reagan was shot.
Yeah.
In 1981.
Hurry up.
And Airy Neve was blown up in 1979.
Don't forget to follow the 2 Mics at the 2 Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for 2 Mics TV.
Watch that person turn from being a beautiful young woman into a wrinkled, gnarled old prune.
What do you think you see when you look up into the sky and you see the moon?
You see...
Does the moon have its own light source?
Well, no. That's a reflection from the sun.
Right. And so if you were standing on the surface of the moon while the sun was shining on it, what do you think it would be, light or dark?
Well, all the pictures we've ever had from the moon are dark.
Dark?
There've never been any pictures of light from the moon.
Of course there's light.
No, there haven't, no. All the pictures, most of the moon is the dark side of the moon.
No, that's the dark side.
No, that's the
opposite side of the light side.
No, it's not. There's no light side of the moon.
What? So all of it's the dark side.
Well, you show me a picture.
Why is it called a side then?
You show me a picture.
Why isn't it just called the dark moon?
Yeah, look, I happen to have a picture here of Mr. Kernan, the last man on the moon. It's dark.
He's standing in the light.
No, it's dark.
Well, how come you can see him then?
No, it's only dark.
If it was dark, you would be able to see him.
No, there's no natural light on the moon. It's all dark. I'm telling you.
Well, the sun shines on the moon.
It doesn't shine properly on the moon like it shines on the Earth.
What do you mean it doesn't shine properly?
Well, because it doesn't. And
well, how can you see the guy in the picture if it's not light?
It's not pitch black dark, but it's not light. Okay,
it's not even inky black.
No, it's not inky black. No, couldn't live in it. I mean, it's ridiculous.